Welcome to The Old World Lives, a Warhammer Fantasy Battles podcast. You can find us on Facebook at The Old World Lives, on Instagram at The Old World Lives, and you can reach us by email at theoldworldlives@gmail.com. And now, on to the episode. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Old World Lives podcast. I'm Christopher and I'm gonna host you tonight as pretty much usual. And with me I have another Christopher.
Here I am.
Hey,
Back
Jimmy.
from the boneyard.
Oh.
Hello.
And a Jens.
Yeah.
So, no Niklas for this one, but he's in the episode later on, which you will hear in the main segment, which will have a nice interview with an event organizer and, a bit of a talk about the event itself.
Yeah, and it's a really good lesson to learn in case you're curious of hosting your own events or where to start or where to pick it up. We get a lot of really good tangible startups, like good tangible ideas on where to get started and how to get a locale and just engaging your local community.
Yeah, and the event in question was a Return to 6th Edition event hosted in London in the beginning of March, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, he could have just called it the best edition of Warhammer Fantasy, but he's very humble about it. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, there's no Shadhammer there. So, what have people been up to since it was quite a while since I see that our last episode was released on the 26th of February? Do anyone have any hobby updates? Feel free to just speak up.
I have painted 5 pistoliers.
Ooh.
And glued some other stuff
Nice.
to bases.
Yourself?
So, glued some other stuff to bases. So I'll do 7 more Tutoring Guards and a small detachment of Free Company Fighters. And then I think I'm up to 1750 or 1500. Can't remember. Probably 1500.
Fair enough. That's at least some progress, and that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Your progress so far has been really great, and you got a nice looking force as it is.
Yeah, getting stuff done.
Jimmy, what did you do?
What don't I do? Yet again, I'm scraping mold lines from Night Goblins because I'm building this huge ass army for a battle in May, I think. A historical battle in the Karak 8 Peaks with dwarves, Night Goblins, and Skaven. So I'm gonna build and paint a lot of squigs and Night Goblins. Also, I got my hands on some nice things. An untouched box of Middenheim Siege Defenders from 6th edition from the campaign of Storm of Chaos. Wow.
Yeah,
amazing
that's pretty cool.
things.
That's, for our listeners, that's the entire army box they released, right?
Yeah, with 2 boxes of Knightly Orders, 1 box of 20, the Militia, and 20 State Troopers, along with a limited edition Battle Standard Bearer, 22 Token Guard with full command, and the White Wolf Templar Grandmaster. Wow. Oh,
That is some hot
forget,
stuff.
also a cannon / mortar, depending on what I want to build.
Not bad at all.
So Jens isn't going to be the only Middenheimer / Middenland player here.
Well, the more the merrier. Together we can
yeah.
stop the Hordes of Chaos.
Together we can stop them in 2020 in the Storm of Chaos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, combined with my upcoming Slayer cult, which I have really, really need to paint because it's my second iteration of it, and the last one I painted was in, let's see, when was it? Storm of Chaos was in 2001, wasn't it?
I think so.
2001.
Quite a while ago, so to speak.
Yeah, but you have a lot of things from there, right? You have like the Goblin Hewer and you have the Slayers. Do you have Long John Drong?
Yeah, I have a Long Drong and some Slayer Pirates. I need to get some more to get a larger unit. I have Ungrim Iron Fist, I got Gargrim Iron Fist, I got a lot of Doom Seekers, and I got 1 Goblin Hewer, because that's all you can take, sadly. Now we basically just need to find someone with a lot of chaos, right?
Yeah, that seems to be pretty hard to find. But Krell, are you working on some Beastmen, perhaps?
I mean, I don't know where you've heard. I might.
There's
I don't know.
There's
What?
rumors.
There's rumors, and you told us that you wanted Beastmen.
Yeah, it's the surreptitious rumors and the discreet fact that I joined Beastmen Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and that I've asked you guys, hey, just casually, how do I base my gores on 25 millimeters? And Jim's like, well, you can do it. I'm like, no, it's impossible. And you asked me, why? Have you tried? No, my friend is. So yeah, I just recently picked up the Beasts of Chaos, the 6th Ed book, alongside the Undead 4th edition book, as well as the Skaven 6th edition book, apparently, and a couple of other 6th edition beautiful hordes of lore. So I'm sort of working on some semi-secret chaos shit. But recently what I finished was a Banshee, the old 8th edition, I think 8th edition. Jimmy? 7th? 8th edition? The newer one?
Is it the plastic?
Yeah, the plastic one.
I think it was 7th edition. Might
Yeah.
be. Not sure.
Oh, thanks. Because I keep forgetting. Undead got a lot of things in 7th edition, but also in 8th edition. But so I finished up that just in time for our battle that we had in Javelin that we're going to be covering later. And I was convinced it would do jack shit because they're very bad in 6th edition. They have like a very short howl and they can't fight and they just crumble in combat. And they also did a new, I think it's their old Reaper Bones vampire. It looks very like to the Von Karstein molds. So it's got like a billowing cloak and a magically enchanted blade. And also, when I painted him, I noticed he had a roguish shirt that unbuttoned down just beneath his chest. So he had like an open shirt.
So look forward to that
Sexy.
cosplay.
I actually painted some white hairs on his chest. I'm just happy none of you picked him up and checked him because it looks really bad.
So now we're gonna do that next time we see you.
Oh yeah.
As long as you don't find my online Von Karstein fanfics, I've said too much. Beyond that, just stripping some old models. I'm trying to do some sort of Warhammer project with stuff I already own, but it's super hard. At least in 6th edition, you can just use like 30 models. But if we were going to play 8th edition, I'd need to come up with some magical way of making unit fillers. So that's what I've been up to.
Dude, you have the easiest way to make unit fillers.
Skeletons?
You could use the terrain kits from the Gardens of Mor.
Yeah, but I'm getting like deterred because we posted one of my unit fillers from our battle. And Tim saw the graveyard I did, which I think is like the super huge base, the one that has like a more
But yeah, you know, that's just open ground. I think that's why he was like, "That's no unit filler." Because
I think, isn't there a company that makes like zombies and skeletons coming out of the ground? That would be a good unit filler or back row or something.
No, I've checked it out, and it just since I realized the last time we played that I keep raising for some reason a tremendous amount of skeletons. I just threw together a lot of big unit fillers, and in one of the games I had against Jens, I really needed that. So I think at one point it's just one unit filler connected to a different unit filler with like 10 15 skeletons in front. Jens was just trying to salt the earth before my skeletons could rise, just feverishly hacking at the dirt.
I tried so hard.
Poor swordsmen. They've trained their entire life for this. But no spoiling there. What else do we have, Chris? Anything new in the community?
Well, could do my hobby progress.
Sorry.
Because it starts to get like I never get to do it. It's poor me. Since the time of the Sun Ring, we have been besieged and embattled people. Our cursed Dark Elf cousins are bent on nothing short of complete dominion over us, and their treacherous leader Malekith will not rest until he sits on the Phoenix throne. To repel this unending barrage of piracy and raids, we must train constantly for war and remember the golden age before this hellish time of strife. So obviously I'm doing Dark Elves.
Oh, I thought you were doing High Elves. Or Wood Elves.
No,
any kind of elf.
It's not like I have both the 6th and 8th Ed High Elf book in my hand as we speak, with Storm of Magic. Curse you, Magic players.
I'm kind of curious. Why do you mispronounce Malekith? It's pronounced the one and only Phoenix King, yea, and Lord of eternity, he who shall wield the flames of Azurian.
He was never the Phoenix King. End times doesn't really count.
That shit never happened.
Where are we drawing the line here? Because I really want to play Beastmen and Demons and Chaos Warriors, so I need to know.
Yeah.
Hashtag not my Phoenix King.
Hashtag play 6th edition. there you can do it. End of story.
Well,
Yep.
Beasts of Chaos is 6th edition, and this is when they split everything. So
In 6th edition, you can use the Hordes of Chaos and the Beasts of Chaos books together. It's in the books, man.
holy shit, these old Centigores look bad. It's like the first genuinely ugly skull. Sorry.
It's the only Centigore sculpt we ever had.
But those feet, it just looks like they took a cheetah's claws and then made it part of a giant bull. What the hell?
Well, Chris, what kind of Dark Elf units have you been playing around with? Tell us.
Well, this lovely Dark Elf unit called a Lore Master is what I'm currently working on.
Oh.
And not the upgrade from the 6th Ed book, which basically makes you a level 1 wizard, and if you put any armor on it, you can't cast spells anymore. But other than that, I've been working on a lot of Dark Riders. Yeah.
Nice, because you bought a box, and
I got 3 now.
Ooh,
Nice.
so many Dark Riders.
Yeah, I got the last 2 ones that Games Workshop Stockholm had as well when I was in Stockholm.
Hashtag Cavalry Hammer.
Oh, guys, speaking about boxes, I found another box of Start Collecting Greenskins. There's still one out there that I need to get.
How? Dude, how?
It's waiting in Uppsala.
They just keep on popping up.
Fair enough. And if anyone's interested, there's one of the engineer character from the Dwarves and the Belligor Iron Fist, Iron Hammer, whatever it's called, from the Dwarves as well. And another Lore Master still left in the shop in my town, Eskilstuna, if anyone wants them.
Did you know if they have any Beastmen?
Those are the only ones they have left, sadly.
Ooh.
They also have several more copies of Storm of Magic, and everyone needs that.
If anyone's lounging around in Australia, just, popping on by to Eskilstuna, we'll hold it for you.
Can also probably get like a 7th Ed Dark Elf army book or something like that. Let's get on some news, because otherwise we just ramble on. There's a new line of books from Black Library, which is the Warhammer Horror Collection. And there's a reprint of a fantasy book in that line.
Ooh, do tell, which one?
I think Krell knows a lot about this one.
Genevieve du Dudon. And for those of you who don't know, Genevieve was the first couple of books that Kim Newman, who later went on to do Anno Dracula and The Hounds of Baskerville. And he's a really good author with a lot under his belt, but he started out as a Black Library author during a different pseudonym. And it's
that was Jack Gioville.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Gioville was his artist name, which is also a slight reference actually to, I believe, Jane Austen, who also wrote during a pseudonym. Anyway, basically it is, they're good books, but I should probably tell you, if you like the Vampire Lords from 6th to 7th edition, it's a lot of contradictory information about vampires in there, like vampires just walking down the streets and being beloved by the people. It is a 14-year-old Bretonnian peasant girl who gets turned into a vampire and then has amazing magical kung fu adventures. And that's not me joking with you. She knows kung fu.
And she is also involved with a certain playwright in the Empire.
Yes, a very prolific playwright who writes a lot of good stuff. No, but
well, at least so they claim. They don't really have that much to compare to.
No, but I mean, it's a good insight into both the sort of cultural stage that you rarely see, centered around the Empire's accomplishments, and you get to acquaint yourself with some parts of the nobility and the electoral council parts. And it's also sort of, it's a good ground level insight into a lot of functionings and workings of the Empire. You have a lot of different books. I don't know if they're going to reprint all of them, but the main part is initially Drachenfels, which is basically about Jimmy helping out you two, Jens. Was Drachenfels like retconned out or just made less important in later editions? Because
no, it's still pretty important, right? I mean, it's in at least in Total Warhammer, it's starting position for some vampire counts, I think.
No, I mean like the mage Drachenfels, because I had to check out. Apparently,
okay.
like in the 2nd edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles, he was a great mage who lived when the Slann arrived.
Oh, never heard of him.
Well, Drachenfels is still important in Warhammer End Times Vermintide, because there's a DLC version where you play in the castle, killing vermin.
Yeah, I think the storyline has been changed a bit since second edition, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because this book takes place a bit after that was changed as well, and then I think it was changed again just because it has to fit the evolving lore.
Yeah,
and the
but
fact that time moves on.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, time moved on, and as we've discussed before in extension,
Except it does not move on in the old world.
well, it lives. Old world lives. It breathes
Yes.
and changes. But basically, if you ever liked Warhammer Fantasy Battles or Warhammer Fantasy role-playing games, I think that these are great for lore and flavoring, because you get a more traditional dungeon crawl with a pleasant band of merry adventurers, and you get really, really cool character introductions, and everybody has something to join. And then you have sort of more of urban horror, drawing inspiration from later iterations of Newman's work. And then later after that, you get the sort of whodunit mystery drama among vampires. And it just shows the complete ennui and disinterest you gain for the world when you've lived for 250 years. So I would give it 5 severed heads out of 10. 7 severed heads out of 10. I'd really recommend them. I think everybody's read the Genevieve.
5 out of 7 heads.
Yes, 5 out of 7. I think everybody's ever read them would heartily recommend them. I mean, Chris, you've read them, right?
Yeah, and they give another view than the battle books and the army books gives for how it is to live in the world as well, to get a deeper understanding of the world itself.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly said.
And there's another book that's released in April, and that is the Warlords of Karg 8 Peaks Omnibus, which contains...
This sounds interesting.
It contains Skarsnik and Headtaker and Thorgrim, the Karag-Durag Grudge, and the King of Black Crag. And those are all by Guy Haley or David Geimer, those books. And that's released on the 6th of April, which is quite nice. So, and it's also relevant to certain peoples that are going to have a Karg 8 Peaks battle.
Yeah. Although I've been told not to read the Skarsnik book because there's like a tribe of goblins called the Backdoor Gits. I mean, like,
Oh dear.
come on. I'm like, what? This can't be true. And I checked it up and it's like, yeah, this is true. So I don't think I can read that one seriously.
Well, you don't really have to.
Well,
this is
true.
one of the. It's a Chronicles. That's a Warhammer Chronicles omnibus, which joins the line of the Sigmar omnibus, the Witch Hunt omnibus, the Sundering omnibus, and Nagash, and all of those. So it's a collection of quite good books usually, even though you can't really support Malekith if you read the Sundering. That's all I say.
Is he a dick in those, or is it like a political move?
He's a combination of a good general and a good warrior, combined with Anakin from the prequels.
So does he pod race a lot?
No, sadly not pod racing, but they do ride a dragon sometimes.
Ooh.
And he also whines so much and complains and whines, and it just takes you out of it so much.
As someone who doesn't know a lot about the Dark Elves, I'm actually kind of interested in it, because I know that his backstory and sort of motivations has changed over the editions, but I don't really know how they'd characterize him. So I'd actually want to read about this. To me, it sounds relevant. Well,
it's still a decent book, and you get to know a lot about that era before the Sundering and up to the Sundering. The second book in the series is about Alithanar, the Shadow King, and the third book is about Imric, the one that becomes King Calidor, I think it is.
Is he the last Dragon Rider?
No.
That's a different Imric.
Yeah, that's Imric, the prince that is more or less alive in 6th edition.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not racist, but all elf names sound the same to me. Awkward silence.
I might be checking if he's actually in the 8th book.
Other than the books, there's some kind of Chaos skirmish game coming out, I think.
Warcry!
Yeah. I'm gonna look into that kind of terrain. It looks sweet.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be the new Age of Sigmar Mordheim style skirmish game, but might be useful for terrain.
Yeah, and if I like the rule set, I'm possibly gonna do a Chaos Waste kind of game from it.
Yeah, then like a Path to Glory.
Yeah, exactly. But on skirmish level.
Fuck yeah.
It almost seems like it's more the Armageddon set than rather than Mordheim re-release. If you compare it to the Armageddon and the Necromunda, I mean, in 40K.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's it can stand on its own merit. It gives us a good set of terrain, maybe some new nice Chaos minis. There's some Furies we've seen in the photos.
Yeah,
And War
and those
Dogs
Furies.
and
Yeah, I mean, and the Furies, as Chris pointed out, they could work both as Harpies or Furies.
Yeah, they're pretty useful.
It's always nice to get some new miniatures that might utilize, and as Jimmy said, terrain for a Chaos Wastes campaign or something.
A possessed warband for Mordheim.
ooh,
Floating skulls that weep blood.
No, stop.
Wait.
You promised we wouldn't do this.
Yeah. Now I cry blood from my empty tear sockets.
But
Meh.
how about a Stargate shaped more like a Chaos Star?
Now you're talking my kind of language.
But that will only have rules in 40k, sadly.
Well, there are structures like that in fantasy.
Yeah, there is.
Couldn't you use it as a unit filler if you had like a very Sinchi or like a
Yeah,
Norscan
you could.
army
You
band?
could. Or
Use it
you
as a
could
unit
write
filler
up,
for demon.
or you could use really cool homebrew rules for it, because the gate looks kind of exactly like the gates from Total War Warhammer and from Warhammer Online.
Yeah, that's true. And if nothing else, you can have like 2 and use some advanced magic setting or something, like during full tilt, Storm of Chaos, or like 8th Ed or something. Just have them like
Yeah,
portals
that's
or something.
true. If you played like the Storm of Chaos from 6th edition, you could have like an Invoker or like a Chaotic Awakener or something as standing in front of it, like a Siege Mage or something.
Yeah.
Or having them as the spawn points for your reinforcements if you play like a Siege of Middenheim battle.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Giving me ideas.
Maybe you can take them out if you charge them with like cavalry with a warrior priest or something that could damage them. You can always make really cool stuff about basically of anything.
Speaking of which, we were talking about Malekith earlier today. Do you know who debuted in 4th edition but didn't get rules in 6th edition? I mean, a lot of characters, but specifically, we've had a request. Tolaris Dreadbringer, who was not at all in 6th edition.
He was.
He was?
He was. Yeah, he
Tell
got
me more.
a website downloadable character sheet. It's, I think, like 245 points or something like that.
Yeah, we've had tangible requests to have more Tolaris talk. So this is us reminding you.
Renee, this is all the Tolaris talk you will get.
It really is.
Here we go. Tolaris can be fielded in a Dark Elf army. He counts as a hero's choice. He must be fielded exactly as described here and may not be given any additional equipment. He must lead a unit of executioners and may not leave the unit during the battle. So he's got quite a decent hero stat line. That's a bit boosted. Level toughness 3 as usual. 245 points. He wears heavy armor and he uses 2 items from the regular Dark Elves army book as magic items.
That's not pretty good. I mean,
that's in magic items anyone can get.
Well, at least he got in the webpage. If you wanted to field Krell in 6th edition, you had to buy a very specific white dwarf. That's the only way to field Krell and Heinrich Kammler in 6th edition.
He got Executioner's Axe and Black Amulet, and both of those are in the book, and they are more than 100 points. So that's why probably, I think they're more than 100 points. But that's why he's
special together they are. That axe is super expensive for some reason.
60 points.
I think like 60 or 75 points or something.
60, because there's one more expensive than that. That's the Venom Blade, I think. Or is that axe might be 80 points, but that doesn't really matter, does it? He got Killing Blow, but can slay everything with Killing Blow, not just man-sized models. Everything but swarms.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, my rat swarms are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to pay the old man Kemmler tax. That's like the worst tax.
Boo-hoo.
Well, that was Tolaris we just talked about. Krell.
Oh, sorry.
So Heinrich Kammler and Krell, you say 450 points.
Oh Jesus! Why?
That's like
Why?
That's like nothing.
450 points. That's for Heinrich Kammler. Krell is 215 points additional to that.
I pay over 600 points for Grimgor Ironhide.
Yeah, and that's what Kammler and Krell costs together.
Yeah, but Grimgor Ironhide literally kicked Archon in the balls and won the Storm of Chaos.
He did. Also, I can't ignore that Grimgor has his bodyguard with him included in those points.
Yeah, Heinrich Kammler and Krell cost about that together. That's two
Yeah.
models.
Grimgor would beat their asses.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
He would
Literally.
slam them with the broadside of his axe, headbutt them, and scream, "Grimgor's the best!" And then he would walk away like a winner.
Yeah, but if I let you get into
It
close combat with my squishy mage, then I really do deserve losing.
If you try to cast spells with Grimgor, you deserve to lose.
Yeah, could Grimgor take
He
on
can.
Polaris?
Oh yes, he can.
He could probably one-shot him, basically.
Squishy toughness 3 Dark Elf.
Grimgor Ironhide, movement 4, weapon skill 8, ballistic skill 2 because he has only one eye. Strength and toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 5 attacks and leadership 9. He also have a 1-up armor save, 5+ word save, magic resistance 1, and the best axe in the world, Gitsnick, which means foe killer. It snicks gits. And it's +2 strength, and he always strikes first. Also, he has hatred for everything. He hates everyone.
That's pretty dope. Sorry, Tolaris. Sorry, Renee. I tried.
Also, if he's still alive at the end of a close combat, he adds +2 to his combat resolution because he's an awesome fighter.
Tolaris got a really good boost in 8th edition.
Oh, I gotta say your thing first, okay?
His big boost is that it's less than half the points than it is in 6th edition.
Wow. Apart from the +2 combat resolution for his awesome fighter special rule, every unit flees 3d6 inches away from him because they're so scared of him. It doesn't. So yeah, both cavalry and infantry flee 3d6 regardless of their movement rate. If they fail to rally, they will flee in their normal movement rate. So that's this guy.
Should we maybe steer away from 6th edition ass kickers, or
he gets better in the later editions?
How could he get better? Okay. Let's not open this can of worms. So anything else
there we go.
Through?
Gotrek and Felix. There we go.
Ooh.
475 points, which is divided 162 for Felix and 313 for Gotrek. We don't really have to go through anything more than this lovely one, which is the Wormslayer Blade, which is this enchanted sword thirsts for the blood of dragons, urging its wielder to confront these monstrous beasts and imbuing them with unnatural ferocity and speed. The Wormslayer Blade adds +2 to Felix attacks. In addition, if there is a dragon within its charge range, you must declare a charge against it. Against dragons, the Wormslayer Blade allows Felix to reroll missed attacks and failed rolls to wound. I just love that you have to charge a dragon.
Yep.
Yeah, and even with a magical sword, he is not really kitted out to take out a dragon.
Yeah.
Is anyone in 6th edition?
Well, at least he's got a strength 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his body is the world's worst slayer.
Yeah, depending on your point of view.
Yeah, he is the worst slayer. He just never dies.
Not even when the old world died.
Maybe we should do this in the future as an episode. Just go through some of our favorite special characters from 6th edition instead of just reading them out as we do now.
We need to get on to
That's a good idea.
We need to get on to our battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 months ago or 1 month, I don't know. Time passes weirdly here.
It was about a month ago.
Yeah. And Chris, Krell, and Jens came visiting me, and we had 3 games of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Everyone faced each other, and I'm gonna start with my first game. It was with Chris. I fielded my Night Goblins. Like everyone knows, I always field a lot of Night Goblins and Fanatics and a Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course you do. It's the only way to play.
Also, I used my newly painted Great Shaman, Knorka de Loon, my level 3 Night Goblin Shaman. And I must say, he really sucks at casting spells.
Didn't you drop him as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. But on the other hand, he might have deserved it.
He did.
But yes, Jimmy said we faced off in the first game, and it was quite clear, as a small spoiler here, that it is unfavorable to not field a fully painted army.
Yeah, the dice are really against you.
Yeah, but they usually are.
That's because you need dice for your army. Specific dice.
Yeah, but we played 1,000 points between us in our Border Princes campaign, and
Yeah.
I fielded my Dark Elves, which was a small city guard force, which I didn't play as good as I probably could. But to my defense, it was about 15 years since I played 6th edition. Something like that. So I'm just going to start off with saying that I'm going to put in the excuses here, because there really are none to be made.
All excuses are good excuses. I accept it.
Yeah, we should... let's just do some highlights, because it was quite clear that there was a lot more goblins on the table than there were elves.
Yeah, there were. And for me, my squigs started eating each other up because my goblins fled in panic and my squigs broke off, becoming wild squigs. I think I had released my squig hoppers before the unit fled.
That was I shot your squig hopper unit with the bolt thrower, and then they scattered. And one of them charged while scattering.
I think I released my squig hoppers before that.
Oh yeah, you might have.
Yeah, because I can remember
because
I remember how one of my squig hoppers ate him up and became a loose squig.
Yeah, and one of them basically charged my knights, I think it was.
Yep. And my goblins themselves didn't do much. It was like my loose squigs and my fanatics.
And then your loose squigs. Well, your loose squigs ran around, and the handlers basically trained off the table.
Yeah.
They spent like 4 turns just slowly moving off the table.
And getting hit by squigs every single turn. It was like 2 or 3 squigs chasing them off, and was like, God damn it, stop eating my handlers.
Yeah.
The good thing... I mean, you're not a very good Pokemon trainer. Obviously, they're going to do what's in their nature, Jimmy.
I will never become a good Pokemon trainer.
Well, the other highlight of that game was basically your giant charging into my unit of city guard, scaring them. They moving back a bit, and then your giant moves up, faces my lord, and my lord just pokes him in the knee or something, and just dies.
He one-hit him. Yeah, with that bloody sword that you had.
Well, I knew that at least someone was going to take a giant or something big, so I had to take the lovely sword that got a killing blow on 2d6 toughness test.
Yeah, it's like for each unsaved wound, yeah? Or is it if it takes at least 1 unsaved wound?
Yeah, you have to take a toughness test for...
Yeah, and that killed my giant. I think I rolled double 6.
Yeah, it was way above his toughness.
Yeah, it was like, I'm dead now. Anyhow, even though you had a lot of more casualties, you still had killed a lot of my points. I mean, my points go into my giant, obviously, my squigs and my fanatics, and I had none of those left. I had my 50-man unit at over half strength at least. So the game ended in a draw.
But one of the reasons was that your large unit didn't move for 2 turns, so it couldn't really do anything, and I couldn't really do much to it either when I had a giant in my lines. So
yeah, this is because animosity is a fun rule, but somehow scab hammers don't use animosity.
But we all know that animosity is a rule that ruins the game.
Yeah, but
and makes orcs and goblins less. Well, that makes them less competitive, so we have to remove it.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't want to play competitive games.
Yeah. And for people that don't know, we are referring to the arguments to remove the animosity rule in 9th edition.
Yeah. Well, during our game, Krell and Jens had another game at the same time.
Oh yeah, the mighty Empire facing off against what did I name him? Soy Boy Berakak von Karstein?
Yeah, I think that's what you call them.
Yeah.
And you would rue that. Rue it well.
Well, would I? Would I really? I
Well, I
mean,
guess we'll find out.
yeah. I had the luck of using my mighty Hellblaster cannon and getting. I think you got the first turn, but I got like a good lineup on your unit with your general in it.
I was like, oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, and I fired, and I rolled a misfire, and I rolled a 1. So right off the bat, I'm 125 points down. Yeah.
And I remember that because I was like, what does that do? When you looked at him like I'm making fun of you, and Jimmy looked over, it's like, what happened? And you're like, double 1. I'm like, okay, what happened? Do you like shoot me once or what? You're like, no, he dies. What? He dies. Let's take him off. Oh, okay. Well, good for me. I hate shooting. We had 2 tables because Jimmy's club in Javle is badass. Everybody has snow basing except for me. So Jens was kind enough to take the field in fighting on the non-snowy table. So we had a bunch of tables and we're basically fighting to defend the country. So in the Border Princes, shit got rough early. So he blew up his Hellblaster, and then on my first turn, my Graveguard nobly advanced, and my bunch of skeletons ran forward, and then you shot the shit out of them, right?
I didn't shoot that much. I mean, my handgunners, I think I killed like 1 dude with my handgunners, and that's all the shooting I had left. But I did have a cavalry unit of White Wolf dudes with a Grandmaster who made them immune to psychology, which was very handy when facing the undead hordes. So I just rode up your flank and then like charged you in the flanks and rears of your units.
Yeah, and it should be said that this is not me excuse myself because Jens played a very good tight game. I'm like, okay, so you hit me in the side. What does that mean? And it's like, well, it means this. Oh, okay. So one guy gets to hit back. Yeah. Okay, so I lose this combat with my Graveguard, so like a solid quarter of my army. He's like, yep. And he's like, now what? No, they crumble. So my Graveguards bit it on turn 1, I think. And you just rode, no, turn 2. They were in combat once. Then you rode past and just wanted to fuck me up.
Yeah, like charge everything in the rear, and then your Berakak Karstein guy couldn't really get through my 1+ saves on my other knights with his tiny sword.
It's super funny because my VIPs in this game were my direwolves because I hit them with the Dance Macabre, so they got to double move, hit your handgunners in the flank. You got struck with fear.
Ran them off.
Yeah, ran them off, and then they ran in on the second turn. It's actually a pretty funny thing from my perspective because he had a couple of beautiful great swords with the hammers of Ulrich advancing towards my like main dude who's already gonna get fucked up by cavalry. So in a wild gamble, I summoned I think 3d6 skeletons in front of your swordsman.
Yeah.
I got really good rolls. It's like 17 skeletons, which was like two unit fillers and 10 skeletons because I was running out of skeletons quick. And then you couldn't march and you couldn't charge them either because
you stopped me, and I couldn't really get to your last unit with all of my stuff in time.
Yeah, and then you got into combat, and I think you whittled them down to like 5, and then I boosted them again, and then my wolves hit you in the rear.
And I still managed to hold on and get that skeleton unit down to like the last skeleton. Oh, damn.
Yeah, and then the wolves just bit you to death, and then your fucking cavalry slammed into Superman from Karstein, and they just stood there. And after a while, it's like, well, screw those great sword units. I'm just gonna buff myself. So at one time, I think I had like 52 skeletons and my from Karstein dude just fighting you.
Slowly whittling down my knights.
Yeah, but it ended that way actually. You had pretty much nothing left, and I just had. I was just behind a wall of 9,000 skeletons, and it was a minor win for you, right? Because remember, you taking 50 of my goddamn points.
Yeah, I got some of your banners, and I got I think I had a table quarter and stuff like that. So I ended up on top.
You got all of the banners.
Oh yeah, except for the one you had in your mega unit.
Yeah, he was safe. He was safe behind 8,999 other skeletons. So after that, we rolled again, and I got to face off against Jimmy.
Yes. So it was goblins against the undead. So 2 games in a row I play against armies that I fear. Nice, with leadership 5.
And it's kind of hilarious because for this game, I'm like, okay, so obviously my army's been routed and I can't like super raise Graveguard again because they're pretty elite. So I'm just going to rumble around the closest graveyard and summon restless spirits and protect this village because we played Protect the Village. So my new army was
Yeah.
first it was 30 ghouls that is lined up, and Jim was like, "Why are you ranking ghouls?" I'm like, "Isn't this what you do?" He's like, "Not in 6th edition. They're skirmishers. You don't put them in a movement tray. You can't even have them as a troop." I'm like, why? Because it's Border Princes. You don't have a forest. I told you to get a forest, but you didn't. So you can't have skirmishers." And I was like frumping. I was like, "Well, I want damn grave-eating ghouls. Okay."
So you just ended up having more skeletons.
Actually, I took minimum units of skeletons. I listened to you. I took minimum units of skeletons and then just boosted them turn 1. It's a winning strategy for sure.
And for some reason, my shaman got removed from the game.
He
Because
got like one
spells.
good turn of magic.
Yeah. And then poof, gone.
Yeah, he flew away like Looney Tunes style. He ate 2 bad mushrooms and just flew away. Team Rocket will come back
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah.
Terminate himself. 250 points.
My giant, though, damn, he jumped up and down. He jumped up and down every single combat he was in this game. So first he got into your necromancer and his unit, and it was like, I'm gonna jump up and down, and he did so. 2 turns, the unit is gone. And then he got charged by Spiritos, and he's like, I'm gonna jump up and down. And I'm like, I can't even do anything now. He jumps up and down until he falls over or he is dead. So he's locked with a
Yeah.
couple of Spiritos.
And that was hilarious because I hate Spiritos and Banshees, but I'm like, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And the first turn, you shot my Banshee with magic, so I had 1 wound
Yeah.
left. And then we're like, okay, Jimmy.
And I tried to kill her. I tried to kill her so many times.
I'm like, what other like mage slingers and magic blades do you have? We're like, nothing. They're all gone. Oh, and your
Yeah.
squig hoppers just stood around for 3.5 turns fighting among themselves.
Yeah. Animosity is so fun. But in
It's
the
hell of a
end,
drug.
yeah. Anyways, in the end, my squig hoppers helped my giant away from the goddamn spirit hosts by winning through combat resolution.
Yeah, and they did work. They did like 3 wounds.
Yeah, and like my goblins fought and fled and died from the skeletons.
Yeah,
the vampire.
that was
And
amazing.
yeah, your vampire who was like, I'm gonna throw spells, and it like fell down to his knee for 2 turns. And my goblins were like, haha, we hit you automatically. Stab, stab.
Yeah, and it was such a fucking goblin moment because I miscast and then I was like overcome with the magic. So I'm lying there wrapped in my cloak. I'm like, surely the day cannot take a worse turn. And then you have some fucking goblins just running, oh, I'm a prodim. And you just keep stabbing with spit. Fuck, stop. God, as soon as I get out of this fucking cloak.
Stick him in the back.
You're like, hey, Chris, Jens, I'm beating up a vampire. I'm like, no, you're poking him when he's down. And I threw like a 6-year-old hit.
Poke him and see if he's
He's
dead.
already dead. And then somehow I think I won combat, and you're like, well, you do outnumber me and you do outrank me. So, oh yeah, because I charged you inside with my wolves. And then you're like, well, you outrank me, so automatically flee. I'm like, wait, what? I kept forgetting about that.
If you outnumber your enemy and you win combat with fear, like flee automatically. So yeah, there's that. And then you had a moment with your Banshee.
Yeah, it was like the last turn, and you finally got out of combat, and you're like, I'm gonna scream because my Banshee ain't done a lot. And we're like, okay, well, what do you need? Okay, so I got like a 5 to hit. Okay, good. And I'm like, well, now I have to roll literally 2 6s to kill you. And we're like, okay, so we did that, and I got 2 6s, 4 wounds, killed off a motherfucking giant. No saves.
Oh well, it was fun as long as it lasted.
For those of you who don't know, in the Banshee rules in 6th edition is that I roll, what is it, like 2d6 plus 3, and you roll your leadership, and as much as I pass you, you take wounds.
I think it's 2d6 plus 2 against my leadership.
Oh yeah. So that was it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it ended up in a win for the undead and a loss for my goblins, and I lost 25 of my points in my next game.
Which I made good use of. But first, Jens, Chris, what did you guys play?
We faced off on a snowy table. and once again, my cool Grandmaster showed his worth by taking out. Did I take your chariot out in the first turn or the second turn?
I think that was the second turn because you had to move first.
Oh,
Or maybe, or did you have that extra movement?
Yeah,
item
D3
on
extra on the.
Yeah, then you
standard.
then you did it in the first.
Yeah, so he did that with the Knight of the White Wolf, and then your sorceress had a bit of a.
She
snafu.
performed as on average in that game, or in all of those games. So she started off with getting a miscast and burning out her magic ability, totally.
Yeah, so she was now
Yeah.
a very expensive charge redirector.
Yeah, but she did later on charge your knights just for fun.
Yes, and how did that work out for her?
Well, it delayed your knights, so it served its purpose for about a turn at least.
And in this game, my Hellblaster did at least some work. I think I shot at your Cold One Knights and killed.
Yeah, you kill a knight or two.
Yeah, and then it spent the rest of the game moving up and trying to get into range of the rest of your army.
Yeah, but that I forgot to play my city guard properly again, so I played them too much on the defense. So
yeah, to be fair, I had a pretty aggressive army with the knights. So
yeah, I didn't really want to. I knew that I had to take the charge, but I could have probably been in a better position when I did it. So
yeah,
but they basically whittled down a unit of handgunners, and then we had a really, really nice, proper battle in the middle.
Yeah, big fight with like all the units.
Yeah, because there were two to guard facing off, because they were the great swords at this point.
Proper tutoring guards, but played as great swords. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So they were faced right into my city guard, and then I got some knights in the side, and had we played another turn, the city guard would have won that fight.
Oh yeah, you were chopping down dudes pretty left, right, center with your lord especially.
Yeah, it helps that every wound you take, you have to take that toughness test. So
yeah, on toughness 3.
Yeah, on his little, or doesn't have like a weapon skill 7 or something like that. So he tends to hit.
Oh yeah, but I did manage to run off your bolt thrower with such a clever way to use my knights. I lined them up perfectly for you to shoot at them, and then you killed a lot of them, and then I still managed to have like 1 or 2 left.
You had one. I think you had one knight that charged. That managed to pass his test and then charge my bolt thrower.
Just as planned. Yeah.
Well, had we just one die been different, he would have been dead as well. So it paid off. The gamble paid off.
Like on my 4 saves, I did roll like 3 2s. So I think I should have had more guys left, if anything.
Yeah, but the gamble paid off. But the most fun was that large block of city guard taking that enormous beating and eking it out. Even though had the shooting guard, or greatsword in this case, fallen, there was a unit of swordsmen behind them that would probably have wiped out the city guard in the end.
Well, don't say that, because they're still just swordsmen. They can't do shit.
Yeah, but there was like 11 city guard, and so unless they break them.
Yeah. If the Lord had been taken down, then maybe they could have taken them. Otherwise, I might have like 40 to a standstill at least.
Yeah, that 2+ armor save really helps as well on the Lord.
Yeah, but I did manage to claw enough points for you to be a major win, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
that was because the points difference, because you got the sorceress and you got the war machine and all of that. It really helps adding up those points. And a banner from the Cold War Knights, because your knights managed to kill those off, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So all of that adds up in the end. But Yeah.
And that's where we kind of broke off for lunch, and we had a civil discussion with Jimmy about the proper way of dipping French fries, having a proper Swedish cuisine discussion.
Yeah, the proper way of using
You
the
are
paper cup for ketchup.
heretics and heathens.
Okay, so like, quick show of hands. Anyone living outside of Sweden, how many of y'all take your little paper cup for ketchup and you fold it up like a little bowl? Does anyone do that? Like in any other country? If you
make a mess of it, because you lose the structural integrity of the paper cup.
Yeah, and it flips over and you get like ketchup on the table. Does anyone listening, anyone like Poland, Australia, England, is there anyone out there who does this, or is it solely Javli thing? I'm gonna ask for some dial-ins here. If you're listening, please tell me, just for wanting curiosity.
We can put up a poll on our Facebook page.
We can
Yeah,
put
we
up
should.
a video of how to do it properly.
If it was supposed to be done like that, people would know about it.
Okay, not this
Well,
again. So we got back.
People are stupid.
Well,
You heard from
so
me.
we got
People
back.
are stupid. I'm
That's why you
stupid.
play goblins.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got back to the hall. We lined up the last game: Jimmy versus Jens and me versus Chris.
You guys start first.
Okay, so
I
with
just have
my
to,
additional,
one thing to say. A hand weapon on a sorceress is deadly. This is important in about 2 turns.
Yeah, and as for me, I had an additional 25 points. So I had like talk to people. So Jimmy was nice enough. I think Jens was nice enough to go, but you could buy this magic item that just lets you do Van Helle's Dance Macabre. I'm like, yeah, no, that seems fair. I'll
You
get
had
that one.
plus 50 points because you took a silver mine, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that
Because-
one's like
Oh
40
yeah,
40 points or
yeah.
something.
That's how it was. He didn't take my. You took my magic banner. That's what it was. It wasn't my last fanatic. It was my magic banner.
Yeah. And for those people that are not familiar with the Border Princes rules, when you play these kinds of games that are not, well, like a challenge game or something like that, you only win it for the next battle and not permanently. That's the bonus of that territory.
Yeah.
You can also play like a
So-
challenge battle when you say, I want to play you for your forest or your mine or your town or so.
Yeah, but in this one we just had general battles. And in next step we might escalate, or we might have grudges, which we'll come to what that means in a later episode. But anyway, me and Chris stand up. My mage, my necromancer, my hedge necromancer, and my Von Karsten vampires managed to rouse the local populace. So we finally have some grave guard again. And Chris stands up and he does this super cowardly thing where all his like good guys are taking cover behind some kind of stone wall or something. I don't know what he's doing. So I have to nobly advance over the field and take the combat.
There's a wall in my deployment zone. Where else should I put my elves?
Somewhere brave.
Yeah, behind the wall, pointing outwards.
So this game actually went very strangely due to a fickle roll of a dice, the way it usually does.
Yeah,
I got first turn.
This game actually did hinge on one die roll. Basically.
It did. So what happened was, basically I could cast Van Helle's Dance Macabre at 3 times a turn, which I did, which lets me double march. So by turn 1, I'd advanced over half of the field. And I think I was just outside of charge range when Christopher unleashed hell.
You had also lost half of your army by that point, but since you can raise more, doesn't matter.
By turn 2, you I think like everyone else, you had to choose between shooting at my grave guard or my wolves. So you shot at the grave guard. I think you killed off half of them before I even got in close combat.
You had 4 left when they got into close combat.
And I had to choose now in a tactical manner to either sacrifice my grave guard and get him into close combat, or try and take on his chariot. And I actually really lucked out here because his chariot got a fear test, so he couldn't charge into me the first occasion he had. And I think, didn't your Cold One Knights have the same problem, Chris?
No, things that cause fear don't take fear tests.
So it was stupidity.
No, it had to turn a bit. The chariot wasn't lined up perfectly, so you had to move it, and it lost enough movement so it couldn't charge, or something like that.
Oh yeah, something like that.
It was out of range.
your Cold One Knights basically decimated my one unit of skeletons with my Necromancer. I think it took like a turn and then it was fucked.
Yeah, except that the Necromancer was still left. So the next turn, you managed to raise about 13, 14 skeletons in that unit. So.
Yeah, I managed to like three dice that one with a power stone, and I'm like, well, this is all I got. So I think managed to throw like some insane number, like 17 skeletons into that. So you're locked into combat, and my Graveguard ran up and he charged and tried to hit you over the wall and died.
Yeah, then we had that lovely setting again with the Lord taking just. Yeah, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill you. There's
that poison blade was no fucking joke.
Yeah, it is a really good item. It's expensive. It is almost, well, it is too expensive really for this setting, but now I have it, so I have to use it.
And then my skeletons ran into close combat, and my wolves managed to jump the wall and hit you in the side.
And then
that's
I
where it got strange.
And then we had, well, it was, since you had a von Karstein Lord, right?
Yeah, because we were like trying to calculate combat resolution, and Jimmy and Jens were pretty much done by now, so we we're picking your stuff away, and I have to give to Chris very composed and pleasant demeanor. I'd be like, but wait, how does combat resolution work again? And it's like, okay, so I outrank you, but you outnumber me. And then we went like back and forth, and like, you kill this many and you kill this many, we both have banners, but you have a musician, and it's like, so it's a draw. And I'm like, yeah, shit, it is a draw. And then I'm like, but wait, I have this one Karstein power that gives me +1 to all combat resolutions I'm in. And you just froze up. You're like, wait, you do? And Jim is like, wait, what? He does? And then it also turned out I outnumbered you. So you automatically had to flee, right?
No, it was, I lost the combat, so I had to do the test. And my unit that had at that point lost like 5 elves out of 25 ran.
They ran and they got
chased down by the wolves.
Yeah, they got chased down with the wolves. And due to it being massacre, I got to run towards your sorceress as well.
Who won that combat?
Yeah, she got side charged by like 5 wolves and just stood her ground and impaled one and threw it to the ground. She just kicked the shit out of one of those wolves.
And we were basically just staring at the dice and table and just saying, the sorceress just killed something in close combat? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not that common to see.
And then your chariot charged into the side of my skeletons and somehow lost combat.
Yeah, I did one. Then you got 1 attack, or more than the D3 +1, so it got 2 attacks total, and it did nothing. Because it literally did nothing.
And then I got to hit you back, and then my vampire stepped up and tried to do his thing, and I think you fled or died. So you had some tremendously bad luck in that game, my friend.
Yeah, it was that die roll that when basically my entire center of the army ran and got chased down by the wolves. I had nothing left on the table that could do anything, really, because next to that was my sorceress, and next to that was my bolt thrower, and I had nothing else in my deployment zone.
And again, I just want to say that you took this with tremendous composure and pleasant demeanor, because I would have been sulking like a 5-year-old child in a corner, which I almost did when I played against Jimmy. So good on you. You're a good guy to face. But at this juncture, you'd had a rough day.
It was a fun game. It was just so annoying that it was, because but at least I remember what I did. I know what I did wrong, so I'm gonna correct it for the future and maybe lose again. Doesn't really matter, because I had fun. So, and it was a good game. You even had that lovely moment when I threw that spell on you, that 12 power Dark Lord spell, like and you just went
Ages or something. I don't remember.
Dark Vortex or something like that, I think. And you just, it does what? Because it covered in your entire Graveguard unit.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what? It automatically wounds me? You're like, no, okay. And then we went through it and like, okay, I hit you, and then if I wound you, you die. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do a do like a strength test or something, or be sucked into another dimension. It's
I
just
kind of
lovely.
lucked out there. Yeah, I lucked out there because at least Graveguards have, I think, strength 4, but not toughness 4 in 6th edition. So could have been
Yeah.
worse. So that's our
On the
game.
other hand,
Jens, agility. Sorry.
there were some lovely moments in this game that we just heard on the side on the side of the room or next to us, basically.
Yeah, our game had a bit of a back and forth feel to it.
Oh yeah, it was like cat and mouse, back and forth all the time.
I managed to get some wounds on your giant in the first turn.
Yeah, using
but then you managed to hide him behind and stuff.
Yeah, and my giant, like, I think he scared away your great swords using terror. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Eventually, he kept chasing them, and I liked how your knights kind of died against fanatics, because fanatics are fun.
You managed to get like, I get a d6 hits, I roll a 5, and I wound with everything, so your guy's just dead.
Yeah, it's like, it's only the Grandmaster here. Okay.
But he managed to charge your big Night Goblin unit by himself.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that, but it felt like a good idea at the time.
Well, it did help you later on.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah. So Jens attacked my 50-man Night Goblin unit with his Grandmaster, and due to combat resolution, he fled. I think you whiffed all your attacks too.
Yeah, I think you.
I think you don't.
I don't or something. I hit with 3 and rolled 2 ones and a 3 or something to wound.
That's one goblin, and obviously I did nothing, but static combat resolution does help a lot. So he fled, and I chased him after. And during
Foolishly.
my turn, yes, and during my turn, I charged him, so he kept on fleeing, and my guys were like, "We're gonna walk after him," and for some reason, there's a Hellblaster to my right.
Yeah, just looking down at that lovely, lovely target. And of course, I roll a misfire. And I think, oh fuck, this is where it all goes to hell. But I managed to roll a 6 on the misfire table, which is, I hit you with fucking everything that I can, since it was the first dice. So that's 30 strength 5 shots with minus 3 armor save.
Yeah, and it was like 23 or 29, somewhere
29.
between. Yeah, 29 died. One of those guys survives, and it's like, I have 11 fucking goblins left.
Bam, bam, bam. They're just a bloody smear on the ground.
Yeah, and like, I succeeds on my panic test. Is like, I need to take out this Hellblaster, and luckily my shaman had the spell Hand of Gork.
Yeah.
So I turn my unit around. I walk I think it's 1 or 2 inches that I have left. Like, I'm gonna use Hand of Gork. I think it was with an irresistible force, and I rolled exactly what I needed to charge the Hellblaster volley gun.
Yeah, you were like, if it had been a few millimeters away.
Yeah, I wouldn't have reached it.
Safe.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 inches that I rolled or something, 8 or 7. I don't remember. But it was a close call, and my goblins did something for once. And my giant went rampage in your deployment zone.
He killed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Or he didn't kill as much as he scared away.
I remember when I was in the decision, should I rear charge the swordsman and let your handgunner shoot me without any modifiers, or should I charge those guys with the stand and shoot modifier? So I ended up killing off the handgunners with my giant.
Yeah, I was hoping to get him down, but
they almost killed him. Almost. I think he had 1 or 2 wounds remaining.
Yeah, I think he was down to 3 wounds, and then I managed to get like 1 wound on him with shooting.
Yeah. Oh god, it was a sweaty moment. So what I learned: give the enemy something else than giants to shoot in the first 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, he's a pretty big target.
Yeah, he is. But regarding terrain during fantasy, it's not always that you have line of sight blocking terrain. It's not easy to play with terrain in 6th edition, because a lot of people want to do the what's called the tournament setup with a hill on each side and like 2 forests on each side and like
Yeah,
one
you got the
impassable terrain in the
Yeah.
middle. It's like, why?
Trimmed to a
Why?
perfect length, exactly 12.5 centimeters wide.
I mean, like in real war, you pick the battlefield where you like get the most out of it. So if you're the defender, you're gonna pick a good place to defend. And so you did, because you had like a nice hill on your side. You had a village to hide in. I had
Yeah, I
pretty
had
much woods.
Yeah, and you had like 2 avenues of attack that I could like cover with my Hellblaster and my handgunners, but
Yeah,
that terror-causing giant messed up my plans.
yeah, he sure did. And he almost died the first turn. I was like, shit, I forgot that he can see part of my base. I should have like
Yeah,
hidden
I saw
down
like
and check your line of sight, and was like, I forgot to do that. I gotta live with this.
yeah, because my Hellblaster doesn't give a fuck about modifiers. He just hits whatever he shoots at.
Yep. Anyhow, in the end, it ended up in a win for the goblins.
Yeah,
That
you
was like,
took out
wow.
a lot of stuff from my side,
Yeah.
all my knights, and
Yeah. Your grandmaster fled off the battlefield. I took out.
yeah, he did his
Yeah.
job though.
Yeah,
Throwing
he
the
did.
goblins into the Hellblaster.
Into the trap. My giant chased off your greatsword from the board. It was like you had your you had your greatswords left on the board, I think.
Yeah, I think you chased off my swordsman, but I didn't have any of your banners. All my knights were dead. My grandmaster had fled. Hellblaster was destroyed. Handgunners were dead, so not that much left.
Yeah, all my fanatics were dead, obviously. They always are. And my squig hoppers were all over the place, and my squigs were all over the place. They always die.
Poor guys.
Yeah. But I'm glad I had enough goblins for the job. I mean, like, they're 2 points each. It's like,
Yeah, if you had taken
it's way too
40
expensive.
goblins instead of 50, you wouldn't have had any left from that unit
Yeah.
when I was done with it.
Yeah. God damn it.
I think it's funny because you rarely hear words like, and in the end, the goblins won.
I've never heard that said before.
It does happen. Do you hear that, 9th Age players? You can win with animosity.
And again, what did we learn? We had a lot of fun in Gävle. I think next time we're going to go to Jens. Gävle is a beautiful city. I learned that. You even have electricity. I'm sure you're nice people. Not
You need
all
to come
you.
to the real countryside.
You're
just
gonna
one
kill
thing.
me.
There's a worrying amount of protein powder stores in Gävle.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
even compared to Stockholm, our capital, you had like 2.5 per square kilometers. And Jim's like, well, that's how it works around here. Everybody goes to the gym and then they go tanning and then they have pizza because they're happy and then they have to go to the gym again. And then there's a racist shit at work about immigrants who are taking your jobs because you don't want to do them. And then you get on disability, so you go to the gym and then you get a job. And I'm like, shit, it's like the circle of life. And there's a really
It's
cool
not
hobby
easily.
store there. There's a really cool hobby store.
Yeah, shout out to Hobbyshoppen, the hobby shop in Gävle. Nice store.
They were
And
super
they
pleasant.
have like 10 to 20% off on all GW things. And for every 100 Swedish kroner you shop for, you get a stamp. And when you have 12 stamps, they are worth 100 kroner.
Which isn't bad.
It's not bad, and I love that sort of like incitement to buy more. I also thought it was really cool that when we were there, we looked at a package, and Chris was like, "Jimmy, I think they're overpricing it. It costs less there." And Jimmy was like, "Oh, hey, give me that." And he went over to the desk front like, "Hey, excuse me, I think y'all made a mistake in overpricing it." And they're like, "Really? Let me call our guy." And he spoke to the guy, and it's like, "Yeah, no, you guys are right. The real price should be this, and this is your discount." I was like, "Whoa, they're actually pleasant and customer oriented. We don't get that in Stockholm. They didn't ask us to fuck off or anything. Let's go back here."
Must feel nice.
It felt sort of strange, like you've lived your life in torn rags beneath the greatness and beauty of the royal castle, and then one day you get a nice fitting, beautiful sweater, and you can't really figure out what's going on or why, but it's enjoyable.
I also love the, well, you can park anywhere here policy outside of that store.
If you pick things up or leave them, you have a 10-minute park anywhere.
So, to sum up, we had some lovely games and some lovely times, and We are in the process of trying to sort another date for our next game.
Oh yeah.
As it looks now, it should be around the end of May.
That's totally fine with me. Everyone's
Yeah.
welcome here, and I can travel.
Yeah, I think we have.
Jens promised us booze.
He did.
We will
I
stay
drink
over
it
the
first.
night.
If we do it at my place, we also have access to the cheapish Thai Chinese sushi place lunch buffet thing.
But
I
I have
like
a
where this is
sauna.
heading.
I think
like where both of these things are heading.
if we go to Jensen's place, I'm pretty sure we get to stay in a fortified manse.
That's the only way to ward off the beastman.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chris. What's your what's your ethereal protection against the thaumaturgical threats of Eskiltuna?
There's about a 2-minute walk to the ice cream place.
Oh shit! I don't know, man. That's pretty solid.
I don't know if there is any ice cream around here. I'll have to forage a bit.
I love your statement. Iced
Theo?
cream?
No.
Iced cream?
No. This is Jens. I scream. Ah, Beastman.
So, with that, we'll see you will hear Niklas and some other guys talk in the main segment about what we said earlier, events in London and how to do events and stuff.
Yeah. To Lars, to y'all later.
Bye.
You and your masters are desiccated relics of a dead age. And what greater prospect do I have in Nagash's service, a future of mindless servitude in an unchanging world? The great necromancer is a selfish child. Though assured of his power, he remains forever terrified that another will take it from him. He will not be satisfied until his is the only will in existence, for only then can he be safe. Heinrich Kemmler, talking to his nemesis Harkon the Black.
So, welcome to this, where Niklas and Joe are going to talk about the awesome 6th edition tournament that was held in the UK a few weekends ago. So, boys, let's start talking shop. What was going on down there?
Okay, shall I just start from the beginning? Back in August, I had a brilliant idea, which was to start a 6th edition tournament. And I came to that conclusion because I joined the Facebook groups Middlehammer and the Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition group. And I realized suddenly there was all these people who were keen on playing 6th, which was the only edition I really, really loved. And so I just said, who'd be up for a tournament? And about 20 people were like, yes, me. So I went ahead and I booked a hall, and that's where it all began.
Yeah, it's had a bit of a resurgence lately, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised because during 8th edition, I've got to break it to you now, I didn't like 8th edition at all, but that was mainly due to the models I had didn't work, so I felt a little bit cheated. But anyway, I didn't like 8th, and during 8th, I was trying to convince some people to play 6th, and they kind of just looked at me really weirdly, and so I just shut up and played 40k.
Well, you're in a good company here. We're all about 6th edition. It's obviously the peak pinnacle of civilization's accomplishments, figure gaming-wise.
Yeah, no. At the moment, let's allow some room for the future.
You have not heard us talk about Age of Sigmar, have you?
I've listened to a few of the programs. Well, anyway, yeah. So I was shocked that so many people were like, now that 8th was over, so many people were open to the idea of, yeah, why not play whatever you like? And I remember 6th; it was awesome. Let's play some 6th. And so, yeah, I booked the hall. I initially put down for 20 players, and then I started kind of working out how I was going to get scenery and tables to play 10 tables worth of scenery for games and things like this. And yeah, so it all began from there. And Niklas got in contact because he was in London saying, would you like to meet up for some games? And so I gradually got back into playing some 6th with him first, which is very helpful, obviously, because practice before you try and rules dispute people.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, so I came to London June last year, and pretty soon after that, I saw you announce 6th edition tournament. So that's just perfect. So I just started getting back in 6th edition. So we've been playing fairly regularly, like once a month maybe, down at Darksphere. And it's been really good, like, to get to know the game for this tournament. And it always felt like oh shit, March is so far away, like why do you book so far away? But then it was there, like time flew past and we had a tournament.
Yeah, so I wanted to make it so far in advance because I wanted to give myself enough time to put together scenery and tables if I needed to, or I wanted to give myself enough time to organise like where I was getting this stuff from, because I really didn't want to have like the date come round and just, you know, a load of cardboard and crap and people being like, I paid money for this, and so yeah, it all to be like, you know, not even the basics there. So yeah, I wanted to give myself enough time, and then lots of other people apparently said that they joined the tournament because it was enough time to give them a shot at painting a new army or painting up a load of units specifically for the tournament. At least 2 people regularly kept me updated with their like, oh, I'm painting this and then I'm doing this just for the tournament. So that aspect was really good for the players, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's always nice to give them a bit of a leeway to, like, yeah, you're probably going to want to paint up some units, do some new stuff, because while most people maybe have a lot of painted molds lying around, for a tournament like this, you might want to do something brand new. Exactly. One of the guys, Phil, he wanted to make a Slanesh army, and he had previously in the past, I've played, like, when I say the past, maybe about 14 years ago, I played against Phil, and several of the models he used, he had painted in Nurgle theme, and he completely stripped them and went for so he was doing a whole new army as a project. Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to foster togetherness and just getting a sense of community, because then you have ample time to plan, purchase, and sort of start working on a theme of your army.
Yeah, sure. And then afterwards, you've got a really nicely painted army, and you can be like, right, now I can use this for a while. And they've continued playing 6th edition down at the local club that he's a member of. So that's good to see as well.
Awesome.
Sort of like a perfect entry event as well, to just get into 6th edition.
Say again?
It's sort of a great way to start up a 6th edition army, because you can just build on that. The first 1,500 points and they go up to 2,500, and then you can even have a Storm of Magic event.
No, I agree, yeah. Maybe not with the Storm of Magic, but I agree with the idea of building up the army.
Yeah, it's basically a Lord choice, and then you're up to 2,000.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Niklas and I have this thing where basically 2,000 points is basically just 1,500 with a Lord. So you probably should have more points if you're going to do a bigger army. But anyway, yeah.
I disagree. I play vampire accounts. 2,000 points is 2 Lords. Done. Then you summon your army.
I have 2 Lords at 2,000 points.
Yeah. You have 2 Lords. One is 1,000 points. The other one is 1,000 points. Then you summon skeletons for 3 rounds.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have the character slots. You only get 1 Lord at 2,000.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Master plan has failed.
Yeah. Foiled again. So, like,
that's why I was doing rules.
So everybody shows up day one. Did you, like, have a draw or a special format, or?
Okay, yeah. So, onto the tournament itself. So, I originally wanted to do 4 games, and then after my games with Niklas, I realised that 6th edition, 1,500 points was longer than I was expecting or remembered, and so we decided to cut it to 3 games of 1,500 and 1 game of 500 points. And I thought the 500 points game would be good to kind of get players that might not have played 6th edition for ages, get them kind of back in a little bit easier with only a couple of units to move around.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
So, Niklas, what are you going to say?
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that it worked really well with the 500 point games. That you can just like get the hang of just basic movement and wheeling and stuff like that if you haven't done it in a while.
Would you say that most of the people had like a very good grasp of 6th edition, or was it a lot of like let's have a look in the book because I haven't done this in 20 years and I've forgotten a lot of things?
Say it was about half and half maybe. Niklas,
Yeah.
what did you think?
Yeah, I think like the people who had a firm grasp of the rules had a firmer grasp of 8th edition than 6th edition, and then there were the guys that hadn't really played it in a while, but kind of knew 6th edition better than any other edition.
Yeah, because when we played last, it was the first time in 15 years, something like that I played 6th edition, and there was a lot of edition bleed, and just straight up, I have to look this up in the book because I have no idea how this works anymore.
Yeah, and there was an instant where I had to ask people, how is this combat resolution going for me? Because I can't really calculate who is winning this combat. And somehow they kept telling me, are you a cheater? Are you cheating? Because I won every time asked, and I didn't really know why. And they felt like I was being a classical capital asshole about it, because I'm probably capital and an asshole. But it's really hard to remember what gives you combat resolution bonuses and not, because that switches between editions.
So this is where being more of a purist is your friend, because I only played 6th a lot, a little bit, and then 8th I only played like 2 games or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that helps.
I didn't have any of that kind of oh wait, that was a different edition, sorry. So I didn't have any of that, so that was good.
I didn't play a lot of 8th. I did play some of it, but also I gotta say that just like the practice games that we had before, even if we had like 5 games maybe, that helped a lot. Like the first game, you have no idea what you're doing. Second game is like still basically have no idea what you're doing. But the third game, you kind of have a grasp of.
Yeah.
So those games before was really helpful.
Yeah, so the 500-point game was there to kind of break people in a bit easier, and one of the guys on the tournament who ended up having to cancel, actually, he didn't actually make it, but he had suggested we use the Border Patrol rules, which were in White Dwarf, I think. But you can Google Border Patrol Warhammer Fantasy and you'll get it up. And those are really, really good. They kind of stop people doing like a really crappy 500-point army. So like Niklas and I did 500 points without that, and he just took all his Ungle fast cavalry archers and. Yeah, you could say how this ended.
Yeah, I kind of did it like just to prove a point, because I asked like, should we do the Border Princes or not the Border the Combat Patrol rules that you have to have some restrictions, you have to have some infantry, and you're like, oh, let's just try, just take whatever you want, and then I took all the light cavalry and just moved around like I was playing like a wood elf, like avoiding and shooting arrows.
Yeah, and so he was just running away, and like the only luck I had was when he fled from my charges, the luck was whether he would make his rally afterwards. And, you know, most of the time he did, because he had a musician in there, because he's a smart boy. So, it wasn't fun. And so after that, I was like, yeah, we'll definitely use these Border Patrol rules.
First of all, I love the age shaming of Niklas. It's always appropriate. He is a clever boy.
Well, I had to. The Border Patrol rules were the things I had to actually bend the most, because when they were made, not all the armies had been released yet. So, for instance, ogres weren't in there. So there were some restrictions which ogres just couldn't match. Like, it can only be 125 points max, and ogre characters start at 130. So. Yeah, there were some things that had to go around. Oh, and they forgot to put said that vampire counts could specially use a vampire thrall as general, but they forgot all about dogs of war, and dogs of war have to have
the paymaster
and a general. So so I had to like allow the dogs of war player to use 2 characters. There was a few things, but it was a good idea to use those, and we did capture for the first scenario, which is just you put an objective in the middle and whoever's closest to it at the end. But the game ends on a variable dice roll after the 4th turn, so it could keep going on forever until it reaches, well, not forever, but like 8 or 9 turns.
Yep. You had to step in and play, actually, because we ended up with an uneven number.
Okay, yeah. So I wrote this massive post about the entire day. The day before, I'd been running around setting up the hall for like several hours, putting all the scenery out, and the one thing that I was really keen to do was not play. I really didn't want to play because I was like, I'm not going to be able to collect scores, deal with rules queries, get all this going together and play.
Yeah.
But one of the guys crashed into his house, and he sent me pictures. I couldn't believe it until I saw the pictures. And yeah, so he was like, I'm waiting for the police to show up. And I was like, oh, right. I guess you're not coming then.
Well, that's a
Holy
reasonable
shit.
excuse.
No, that's the only reasonable excuse from here on out. If anybody's like, I'm sick, or like, my child is leaking fluids, like I usually say when I bail, you should be like, listen, I'll accept someone crashing into your house with a car. That's it, okay? Armed gunmen, no.
Well, so I'd gone to bed at like midnight because I'd only left the venue at midnight. And I spent ages trying to get to sleep, being like, I've got to get to sleep. And all that was running through my head was like all these different scenarios about people not showing up, people breaking down on the motorway, like my child like having to go to hospital and me having to just be like, guys, sorry, I can't come. Look, do whatever you like. That's all set up. And then after I woke up at 5, stupidly checked my phone, and one of the players had messaged me at 10 to 3 in the morning saying, I'm so sorry, I can't finish painting my army. Is there anything I could do? And I was just like, just come. You won't win best painted, but just come. And then 10 a.m., this guy texts me and is like, I can't make it. A car's crashed into my house. And I was just like, this is stupid. Yeah, so the day had a rocky start, and then loads of people were arriving really early. When I arrived at the venue, like people walked in at about 8:20, and they weren't supposed to arrive till 9:15. So yeah, I was trying to do 500 things while saying hello to people. Thankfully, one of the guys turned up a bit late, so I was going to play him 500 points, but I managed to get someone else who had already finished their 500-point game to play him instead, and then I joined in with the second game. So yeah, that's how the day was playing out so far. And then the second game was Pitched Battle, so good old classic. And I was playing Beastman, and the guy who played the Beastman, he had painted his army specifically for he wanted, like for the tournament, he wanted to get back into painting, and so his army was beautiful, but he hadn't really played Warhammer at all, like not even 8. He hadn't played anything. So it really was a kind of baby steps learning game for him. And so it was great for me. I just focused on mowing down the endless horde.
Yeah, you tell the good people listening what you were playing as well.
Okay. So my army is an Empire kind of gun line. I like to taste and culture. Well, I like to refer
We've been sharing a culture all day.
I refer to it as my Napoleonic army because I've deliberately gone with infantry that are rifles, handgunners, and then you have to have light cavalry and heavy cavalry if you're going to do this properly, and then you have to have artillery, and that's a Napoleonic army.
Yeah.
So,
Napoleon's Hellblasters and wizards are renowned through history.
Oh well, at least I took an engineer.
Yeah.
So I had a cannon and mortar and a Hellblaster, 2 units of handgunners with detachments of handgunners, a unit of Knights of the Inner Circle, a unit of Knights of the White Wolf, and a unit of Pistoliers. And a wizard, an engineer, and my general was a warrior priest.
I've literally had nightmares that start like that. I mean, geez, you just hate the undead, or did we do something wrong? Jeez. And it's not like the Beastmen have any good ranged fighting either. That could not have gone well for him. Poor man.
No, it didn't go well, and it was even worse because he hadn't played like at all before. So, you know, he was doing things like declaring charges which were clearly not going to make it. And so, you know, after he did two at the crucial point, he did a couple of charges which, you know, weren't going to make it. And when they both failed, then I just charged in with my guys, and kind of that was going to be the end of the game there. But he did have some fun. His ambush didn't really work out because he kind of split the units between. He should have like piled them all together, but he kind of split them up, and I was able to take out one, and his other one didn't really do much damage. But the fun was he had this beautiful Gorgon. I think it's a Gorgon, the big kind of bull giant thing in the in 8.
The newer one.
Yeah, it's got a funny name.
Gorgon or Cygor.
Okay,
Jabba
so he was.
No, that one he would know.
No, it wasn't the jump slide. Yeah, he was using that as a chaos giant, and he managed to charge my engineer and failed to. Oh, and managed to hit him with the club, and then rolled a 1 for the number of hits. So I took 1 wound, and then my engineer had a repeater pistol, so that was 4 attacks back, and managed to do a wound on the giant, and then managed to then stay in the combat. And then the following round, which was the last round because of timing, he decided to jump up and down on the engineer and promptly fell over.
Poor guy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so that was a fun game, but I felt really bad at the end of it because but at least he learned a lot, and then he did do really well in the next game. So you know, he'd obviously learned quite a lot from that. But yeah, then we had lunch, and one of the great helps on the day was the guy who runs the Warhammer Fantasy Battle 6th Edition Facebook group. Who his name online is Ergo. He had come along to observe and kind of see some good games, and he brought a load of food with him to like make sandwiches. So he spent like the first hour of the day making, you know, about 100 sandwiches. So
awesome.
That was amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hero.
So you should name like an award or like a banner bearer or like a general after him.
Well, yeah, probably.
Did he carry 15 revolvers? Because then I've got a name for your engineer.
Well, he's actually got. I don't want to give away his name. He told me his real name. You know, he wasn't shy about telling people on the day. But I don't know if I should reveal it online because he obviously.
Or you'll have power over him. You say it backwards.
Well,
cast him back to the east coast of England.
Bind him with his true name. Thou hast bind him, and his power is yours.
He has got a really good name for, like, you know, it's more of an oldie English name, so it would fit perfectly. So yeah, I think I probably will name a character after him. Yeah.
Is it Egbert?
Eifelbert.
Sorry, say again.
Eifelbert.
No, it's not that old. Yeah, so then everyone had lunch. Nicholas, why don't you tell us how you were doing after the first 2 games?
Yeah, so actually you had rolled up the games like a few days before the event. So you did like a live video matching people up. So yeah, I was gonna be faced with Slaanesh Chaos Warriors or Hordes of Chaos. So I was really excited about that. Because you did like matchups like good versus evil the first rounds, did you? Yeah.
So because it was going to be random, I thought we might as well make it good versus evil rather than having like wood elves playing wood elves. So yeah, I did. I split everyone up, and luckily, like by some massive fluke, because we had 24 people in the end. 12 of them were kind of classically evil armies, and then 10 of them were good, and then we had ogres and dogs of war, which I just put in with the good guys. And so we had a nice way we could match up the first 500-point game. Yeah,
that is very, very cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, nice and thematic.
So I was faced with the Chaos Slaanesh. So yeah, of course I was playing Kislev, so I had 2 units of Ungol horse archers, a unit of lancers, and 10 Kossar infantry. and he had a unit of knights, like a 10-man unit of warriors, and a 5-dog unit of hounds. So we were playing on this like desert mat. We used 2 big features on it. So it's like a middle way, and then on either side of that were like 2 blocking pieces, so you could go around in flanks of those. So you could either go left, center, or right. And he had 3 units, and he put like the warriors and the knights to go in the middle to take the objective, and the hounds on one of the flanks. And I put my horse archers on the flanks, and the lancers and the cossars in the middle. So the game started with, I had first turn, I shot at his warhounds with my horse archers on the one flank, and the other ones rode up to the flank of the knights and started shooting them. Did nothing, and the crosshars didn't do anything. I think I killed like 1 warhound, and then he advanced, and on my turn I shot some more arrows. I killed a knight, and I killed enough of the hounds to make them flee away. I might have even killed 2 knights, I can't remember at this point. And then he charged with his knights against my cossars. Cossars stood and shot at him, did nothing. And then he barely killed anyone. I think he killed like 2, maybe.
Oh, man.
And then my cossars held the line, which was very big. So
Are they stubborn, right?
No, they're not.
Are they only stubborn when there's a boyar?
Yes, so the warrior gives stubborn to any unit he joins, actually.
Okay.
Are they strength 6 or strength 5?
The cossars?
Yeah.
5.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So unlikely to do any wounds.
Yeah, I don't think they did anything back, but then on my turn, I was able to charge the lancers into the knights that were still stuck in combat, and I did a flank charge on those guys, and just ran the entire unit down. I think I killed, because I had my boyar in there, I killed like 2 or 3, probably 2, if even that. But because of combat resolution, I won, and he broke off, and I chased him down with the lancers. Mm-hmm. And at this point, my horse archers were behind his warriors now. They were going into the middle, and they started firing away. I think I killed like 3 guys that turn with just arrows, and then it was just positioning my lancers again. Then I did like a rear charge with the Ungols that were behind them. Since he had been like decimated, he had like 2 guys in his back rank, so I charged in against those guys, so he couldn't really hit back with a lot of guys. So that won me that combat, and I think the game ended there. He still has some Chaos Warriors left, but the game ended, and I was standing on an objective. So it's a win for Kislev. Really great game. Great opponent. Really like playing him. He had like in later games, he had like this spine beast, like giant spawn thing from
the Fortroll model.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was the Fortroll model. Yeah. And really so awesome. He had painted that, like I remember that from when I was like 14, and he painted it in Nurgle really, really well. Like I was amazed that he decided that, oh no, I'm just going to strip all of that off and paint it again as Slanesh, because it was really well done. So that Forge World was there on the day.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question to you, Joe?
Yeah.
I saw from one of the pictures that you made like unique name badges for everyone with their army picture on.
Yeah. Is the question why?
Well, like how? How'd you get that idea? That's an amazing way to get to know each other's names and also like what they're playing.
Yeah. So back in August, when there was a lot of interest with the tournament, I had 20 people join the tournament like straight away, and then there was about another 30 that had said they were interested that were on the event. And I just had been to a Lord of the Rings doubles tournament before in like July or the beginning of August or something, and I found it really hard to remember people's names, especially when it came to doing best painted or most sporting. You had to kind of discuss with the event organizer and try and point them out without being too obvious, because everyone knows you're voting for best painted and you're like pointing at different people in the room. I thought one of the best things to do would be make some name badges. And then I got the idea of just making it really Warhammer themed by doing people's armies on and stuff. And yeah, some of the badges were a bit, they didn't hold together as well as I hoped. I could have glued them, I guess, but I hadn't done that. But yeah, I think it worked out quite well.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good also when you were matched up with someone, like, oh, you're playing this guy, and then you kind of look around the room and, oh, there's that guy, and then you look at his badge like, oh, you're playing this army. Cool. So, it was great.
It also lets loading for the high elf players from the moment you enter the locale.
Yeah, I guess it takes. I mean, I didn't want to take away too much from people's conversation of, like, what are you playing? Oh, high elves. Oh, okay, you're that guy. But yeah, no, I think it worked out pretty well, and it let me. Some people got really into it. They're like, oh, don't give me. What's the guy's name? Not Vlad, the other crappy one.
Conrad.
Not Conrad. Manfred. Yeah, I'd originally done the vampire guys with Manfred, and one of the players heavily objected to this. He was like, I've known a Manfred brand. Give me Vlad now. And I was like, okay. So I gave him a Vlad picture instead, and he was very happy. So yeah, people entered into the spirit thing.
You should have just given him like a Strigoi vampire. Oh, you don't want to be Manfred? Cool, I've got a backup here. Homeless hobo vampire.
Yeah, well, all of this was possible because I planned it really far in advance, so I could just put in all this work on like the back. I had one of the things that fell a bit flat was I put in a lot of effort to try and get some music of the same era as 6th edition. So I was kind of like
I saw that the playlist you were doing.
Yeah. So I was getting into a nostalgic feel of like, what would have guys been listening to when they were playing 6th edition from 2000 to 2006? And I wanted to keep it kind of with a fancy feel. So I was going for like computer games and films that people would have watched, like Gladiator and King Arthur and, things like that. Lord of the Rings, obviously. But yeah, on the day, because I was playing games and doing rules and things like that, I kind of abandoned the music. Like, it was on, but it wasn't really I wasn't really selecting things as I had envisioned. But anyway, yeah. So Niklas, your second game. What was your second?
Yeah, one of the most unusual matchups must have been back then as well. Kislev versus Chaos Dwarfs.
That's a strange matchup. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Like when we were setting up to play, and people were like gathering, like, "Oh wow, that's so cool! It's a crazy matchup."
Yeah, the army no one plays against the army no one's heard of. I'll let you work out which is which.
Yeah. So we started deploying stuff. We had like a great chaff war because I usually have all my Ungals to set up like wherever I want, and then they can just run off wherever they want later, so it doesn't really matter, and just let the enemy deploy their main force. I know where to attack. But he had so many units of hobgoblins. They were just like.
Did you use the Tamarkan book or the Ravening Horse book?
Ravening Horse.
Oh, yeah, come on, guys. Well, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Tamarkan is 8th edition.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. There's
that late? All right.
Yeah.
Niklas has stolen mine, so I don't know how what era it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they're in the Ravening Hordes. I don't know, people. I've heard people say that book is lackluster, like Ravening Hordes with the Chaos Dwarfs, but I mean, at least they have lords, their own magic items, rare choices, more than one special unit. So, come on.
I know that if Jimmy was here, he would defend Ravening Hordes like to the bitter end alongside you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started deploying our chaff, and then we started deploying our main stuff. He deployed very defensively in one corner. He had so seeing from my side, going from left to right, and he had like almost all of his army concentrated on the left side. So like a 20-man unit of hobgoblins, 20-man unit of chaos dwarfs, 20-man unit of black orcs, and a 15-man unit of blunderbusses, and they were like on the left side in that table quarter to the table edge, towards the middle, and his mortar is kind of in the middle, to the left side of the middle. And in front of that, he had like 3 units of hobgoblins just blocking the way. And then on the right side, he had left 2 units of 10 hobgoblin archers. just to hold that table quarter.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I deployed my Ungol's kind of here and there on the back line. My Kossars to the far left, just holding that table quarter. 2 units of Lancers in the middle. Just 1 regular Lancer and the Griffin Legion, and 1 Lancer unit to the right to try and swing around that flank. And I got first turn because he had more units than me. I got +1. So I started off with making a daring shot with Bronzino and his Gallop gun. Because his the mortar thing, like when you fire it, everything within 2d6 moves at half speed and can't fire the next turn. Or if it's a war machine.
It's dangerous stuff, yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So
Shaped cannon.
Yeah, it's just
so
massive earthquake and you can't move. And also, like, just before the game was starting, he was sitting and writing in a book. I was like, oh, is that your evil book of grudges, or are you just doing Pythagoras? And then he showed me his book, like, oh, yeah, I'm doing Pythagoras.
Really?
Classic.
Yeah. Like, exactly calculating where to drop those bombs. Like, oh, shit, well, it looks like we're going to have an artillery war. So I shot with Mosino, took a guess, made a perfect guess. The cannonball landed straight in front of the cannon, and then I rolled like a 2 or a 4, I can't remember, but it only went across the cannon, not a crew. I was kind of hoping that just to do some damage to cannon and maybe kill a crew, and maybe they'll run away. Just took a gamble, and then I rolled to wound the cannon. I rolled a 5, and I rolled D3 wound. Okay. Actually, I have to wound it on 4 up with the Bronzinos because it's only strength 7. Because it's such a tiny caliber. So I rolled a 5, and then D3 wounds. I rolled a 6. So
okay.
We were both like
annihilation.
Just quiet after that. Like, okay.
Can I just ask a question? How do you guys feel about an opponent with a book and doing maths before the game like that?
I think it's fine. It would be worse if it was like taking pictures of the battlefield and using some kind of app to calculate it. If you're doing it like cool math style, like an engineer on a piece of paper, then that's okay in my book.
I personally am both shocked and abhorred that people are using mathematics in everyday accomplishments, and I find it distasteful, and actually it sickens me. I'd prefer if you just did the honest, like, fake cheating thing when he held like an inch stick and pretended to hold it in the air, and he just went, yes, once again I've forgotten how long 2 inches is, and then you sort of fake hold it over the table, and you're like, oh, no, I'm not pre-measuring, oh my, no, and then you put it away and sort of just glance.
Well, you just leave it casually on the table.
Yeah, no, you pretend to be offended and you put it on the table, like, I take objection at that, and then you just glance down, like, oh my, 12 inches, how did I guess?
Well, I guess I don't mind it at all. I could do it, but it just takes longer than just guessing, and also it will throw me off. Yeah, and it will throw me off my guessing game after that. It's just better to hone your skills by just guessing. But also, like, at least with cannons, they bounce. So it doesn't really matter if you guess, like, on the inch. It's still, like, those 2 dice rolls. Like, maybe with the
stone thrower and stuff like that, it might be more useful, like with the mortar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, his was obviously he can. His one was a stone thrower type weapon, so he can get it exactly on that way. I don't know. Part of me is like, oh, you've done something cool because that's what an engineer would do on the battlefield. They might draw up some calculations. And so part of me like salute that idea. But also part of me is like, hang on a second, you're using distances that no engineer would have because no one knows how far in they've marched like that. But
everyone knows that the engineers always pre-measure the battlefield before going out, putting out the ranging sticks.
Yeah, well, if it's let's say the Chaos Dwarfs are defending, then they would have measured out this before.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be like a piece of shit here, but there is historical consent for that because way back when England had longbows, there's one battle, I can't remember which one, they left colored sticks in the ground and then retreated just to have a measure for longbow. And during the Napoleonic era, I know that both Napoleon and later on Frederick the Great did that. They pre-measured out in the field. I think as long as it doesn't like slow down the game. If I'm like, hey, it's your turn, it's like, yes, just 20 minutes while I calculate Tanginess.
And then you roll a modifier anyway.
Well, I don't mind it, but anyway, it was for naught. It was destroyed first turn, and after that, we were both like kind of thinking, all right, well, we know how this game is gonna go now. Because after that, like, I had total control of the table. Like, all my horsemen could just ride around wherever they wanted without fear of being crushed by massive exploding shells or being slowed down by earthquakes.
Yeah, so I guess the earthquake slowing you down would have been the biggest hit to your cavalry army, actually, because that would really have messed up your charges. So yeah.
So after that, like, he had his castle, but he didn't really have a lot of stuff to shoot out from his castle. So it was just kind of me picking off chaff and just probing him and trying to find some places to attack. On the right flank, the 2 Lancer units just swept away his bowmen, kind of controlled that table side. He had his wizard who was throwing like Conflagration of Doom left, right, and center. It was crazy. That spell can do a lot of damage if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you keep rolling higher, yeah.
Yeah. Especially against Kislev. Like, magic shooting, use magic damage or shooting at all. Stuff that damaged me from afar. It's just the bane of my existence with Kislev. But I did get some lucky charges. Like, he rotated his blunderbuss to be able to stand and shoot against my Griffin Legion. So I charged him with some Ungols in the flank first, so he couldn't do stand and shoot, and just ran those guys down. And they overran into the unit of Black Orcs and killed like the entire front rank. So I had some lucky rolls them for sure. And also the cannon. Not only did he kill like his mortar in the first turn, second turn he shot and got a perfect shot on the Black Orcs and killed 4 of them. Just like all of the guys that they covered. And the third turn, when he rotated his blunderbuss unit, he shot straight through that line and killed 5 of those guys. So it's just great shooting from Rosino that game. After that shot, I was like, better not shoot anymore, or I'll just roll a misfire and a 1 and they'll all be gone. So on the right flank, things were going good, but in the middle, he still held firm. And then on the left flank, he tried to move in with some hobgoblins. I charged that 20-man unit of hobgoblins with my Kossars to the front and Ungols to the side. And the Kossars on the charge are really scary, great weapons, striking first. So they kill like the entire front rank, and the Ungols killed some guys on the side. He didn't get his rank bonus, so they just ran those guys down. But in the end, like, I had killed mostly his crap units, like a lot of hobgoblins. I did kill the quick mortar, and the blunderbuss unit gave me a lot of points. But his like main units, the Black Orcs, were at 50%, and his Chaos Dwarf warriors were still just untouched. So still had a lot of points. But in the end, I won by 350 points, I think. So it was a solid victory.
Sweet.
Joe, what school of magic did you run?
Well, Heavens, because Heavens is awesome.
Because it has sweet reroll.
Right, I'm going to give away like the most awesome use of Heavens for Empire and the Hellblaster, which is basically, well, for any artillery. In 6th edition, the base spell, Second Sign of the Maul, lets you have D3 rerolls of any D6. Okay. In later editions, they said, it had to be ward saves or armor saves or to hit or to wound rolls. But in 6th edition, it was any D6. And so I worked out that you could, therefore, whenever you get a misfire, although you can't re-roll the artillery dice, you can re-roll that 1 that blows up your artillery.
And get a 6. Yeah.
And on a Hellblaster, if you get a 6, it's actually a really good thing because it does the maximum amount of shots. So basically the wizard is there really as an engineer because he's there to stop the artillery blowing itself up. And then Heavens usually has quite a few damage spells, so his other spell is just to kind of do some more damage. But in my last game, we'll get to my last game later. Okay.
Jens, don't you listen to this madness, okay? You don't need that, okay? You don't need none of that.
I can't afford one anyway.
No, yeah, you don't need any of that. My only hope against Jens and Empire is him blowing himself up, okay? That's my strategy. Blind luck. Jens, don't you listen to the bad man.
I'm still going to roll a misfire and explode, so it's fine.
Okay.
Well, against Niklas, it's particularly brutal because he can't really dispel stuff very well with Kislev. So
at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like in the magic phase. I just do my worst, and he just has to suck it up. Yeah, there we go.
After this we had lunch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had lunch.
So yeah, it was really nice of Ergo Mystery Man to do all those sandwiches. So we didn't really have to go anywhere. You stay there and just peruse the shop that was there as well.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I should talk about that now. This just goes to show how things start to snowball when you start running an event, and how many people are still interested in 6th edition and looking out for ways to play it still and stuff. So a shop that in the local area had started maybe 6 months before, and they were just online, called Rogues Gaming, and they got in contact with like, is there any scope to set up the stall and sell some stuff and things? And I just said, yeah, if you want to come along and you can put something in the prize pool for the winners, then yeah, go for it. And so they brought along all their second-hand miniatures, and he had hundreds. The guy worked for Games Workshop for 10 years as a guy called Mark. And he had loads of miniatures. I never got to look. One of the great regrets from the day is I never got to look at the store very much because I was doing so many things. Niklas, what you bought something? I think. What did you get?
I got something for Christopher here, actually. Some vampires, and then I got this dwarf. Old Longbeard champion, like a 4th edition Longbeard champion guy with a big hammer and just pointing. It's really nice.
Cool.
Tons of stuff.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, like loads of magazines, White Dwarfs. There was it was incredible the amount of stuff you had there. And they had a card machine as well. So, there was no excuse. People definitely spent quite a bit.
That's like my bane, because when we go to like cons, there's always like this legendary retro store that seems to just follow me and Niklas, because we're obviously bringing them through college or something, and they always have like forbidden secrets and arcane items from 6th edition and 4th edition and like Epic and Battlefield Gothic and everything.
Yeah.
So I am.
Yeah, no, it was great. And so the people were looking through the store at lunch, and then just back on the magic for a second. One of the rules I'd stipulated is that you couldn't change your lore of magic between games. I wanted the list fixed, so you couldn't say, "Oh, my wizard is lore of heavens. Oh, now he's lore of fire in the next game." So that kind of made people think carefully when they did their lists, I think, on that. So then we got on to the third game, which was Breakthrough. Breakthrough is where you have an attacker and a defender, and the attacker has to get a third of their army points into the defender's deployment zone. And so that's 500 points for this game. So I drew against the dwarves, and luckily I won the roll to decide who is attacker and who is defender. And so,
I can guess what you chose.
And so those dwarfs were in for a long march across the board.
Nice.
Oh, jeez.
It actually turned out to be a really close game because nearly everything that could go wrong after that initial roll started to go wrong. So being dwarves, he had more than enough dispel dice to stop me rolling my D3 rerolls with my wizard. And so then the Hellblaster blew up and the mortar blew up and the cannon was like dueling. He had 2 bolt throwers and an organ gun, and my plan was to use the cannon to like take out some of his artillery. And I hit the bolt thrower, wounded him, and then I get to roll D6 wounds. I only need 3. I roll a 2. Oh, and
of course.
Because he didn't lose any crew, it's like I've done nothing basically, even though there's a cannon ball that's lodged in it. And then I aimed for the organ gun.
Sturdy dwarf engineering.
Yeah.
She'll be all right, they said, swinging some beer.
I hit the organ gun, roll to wound. Yeah, wounded. D6 wounds, a 2 again. So I was pretty miffed. that the cannon basically did nothing for the game as well. And so, I was picking off his guys left, right, and centre with the handgunners, but he was slowly advancing, and basically he got 3 units into my deployment zone, and I'd positioned my knights just over 4 inches behind my handgunners so they wouldn't panic when the handgunners got defeated. And you got to think of these things. And the handgunners held like a whole unit of dwarves, just charged them, and managed to do like hardly anything. And I think I needed a 4 for the handgunners to stay, and I rolled a 4. So like all my plans seemed to be falling apart, and then finally the handgunners broke, and he pursued into my knights, and very, very luckily I managed to thrash that unit and wipe it off the board. And then the game ended, and basically if I hadn't got rid of that unit, he would have won it. So it was a very lucky win in the end. Yeah. Niklas, what was your breakthrough game like?
I was playing against Tim and his high elves, and he had like a high elf cavalry army, so that was very interesting. So he had 3 units of cavalry, 2 great eagles, units of swordmasters, units of shadow warriors.
Great eagles.
Yeah, well, they were no match for Ungol horse archers. They're like
he said with
Ungol's
a
are
grim satisfaction.
they're like the best unit to take out great eagles. Like they have nothing to put up against them. Just ballistic skill 4, riding right next to them, just shooting them down. It's so good. I shot one of them down just in 1 round of shooting with a 5-man unit. Crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, I ended up losing that game. He did like some really nice cavalry maneuvers, supported by Fury of Cain, just shooting 2d6 strength 4 magic missiles at me every turn, which is the bane of my existence. This is the worst thing. Like, and it's the same as warp lightning. It's just I can't do anything about it, and they just delete units of horse archers or just lancers. Because I get a 4-up save. Can't defend against it.
I've posted all the lists on Facebook, but the high elf list was particularly juicy in terms of he had a commander and 2 mages. But the commander, he had given that you can give him a trait which makes him a wizard. So the commander was a wizard, and the mages were wizards, and I think he even had the Ring of Fury in there.
Yeah,
so he gets a
book of
cane,
Book of Hoeth as well, and like a banner. So I think he had like Paradise, and
you had your duty to dispel lies.
Yeah, probably the worst Magic matchup, but I was matching people up who had won all their games. So Niklas had won both games, and he had won both games. So they were going to meet at some point.
Yeah, it ended up being a good loss, though. It was a really good game. A lot of fun to play. I did deploy some stuff in the wrong place as well, so I have myself to blame. Also, Bronzino having a super good game. The second game, this time, first shot was a misfire and a 6, so nothing happened. Second shot was a misfire, 6 again, nothing happened. Third shot was like the perfect shot of his silver helms with his commander in it. Stopped right in front of the unit, and then I rolled this die of faith, and it was a misfire. Got stuck in the ground.
And you must have forgotten to pay his fee.
Yeah. Or buy him gunpowder or something. So that shot could really have changed the game, but it got stuck in the mud, and that was it.
I guess it was you did really well the previous game, so the dice gods were coming back to.
Yeah, and he did really good with Magic, the game against me, and then the last game he had like really shit luck with Magic.
Right. So same for him.
Yeah. So what was your last game?
So my last game was against the dreaded Dark Elf City Garrison.
Yeah.
So I'd had one of the things back in August when I'd set the thing up. I kind of like said to myself, this is bringing back 6th edition. So anything that is 6th edition, you've got to allow it, because this is all about bringing back 6th edition in all its glory, but also all its ugliness and its little quirks and its little bits, which is like, that's 6th edition. So, and I for one, I'm a player who does that. I mean, Second Sign of a Mull was clearly not meant to start Hellblasters rolling 6s, but that's what I use it for. So that's 6th edition. So yeah, he had asked to do to use the Dark Elf City Garrison, and it was official rules in 6th edition. So I said, yeah, you can use it. And the only stipulation I gave him was you can't take 6 bolt throwers. I say I'm going to limit you to 4 bolt throwers. And he was like, oh yeah, I was only going to take 4 anyway. So I was like, okay, fine. And to be fair, I don't think the army is that strong. I think it's just really strong if you're not versatile enough. And one of the reasons that we were on similar wins and losses, so I was like, oh, I can play him because I've been doing quite well. Because my game against the dwarves had ended up with a win for me, so I'd won 2. And he'd won 2 as well. So yeah, I thought, well, I'll play him, and then that way I'm not inflicting him on someone else. And then also I have a gun line, so I was like, well, it'll be my guns versus him. We'll see how this works out. And it was harsh. He deployed. He had 4 bolt throwers. 1 was in the middle. 2 were on the right hand side. 1 was on the left hand side. And I had 2 units of knights, and I was like, I can't move them. If I move them forward, I'm going to get a bolt right down the flank, like through 4 or 5 knights. And so my knights had to sit there at the back, just like, this is fun, as he just like shot bolts in the front, killing like 1 or 2 with each bolt. The first turn, he destroyed the pistoliers on the first turn. Like all 4 of them shot at the pistoliers and wiped them off the board. But he was really clever. It was really tactical because that exposed my flank, and then he sent his chaff round. I deployed my pistoliers to take out his chaff, which was harpies, and that allowed him to bring his harpies round to threaten my war machines. So he played it really well. All props to him on like dissecting how he was going to deal with my gun line. He did it really well. I managed to destroy one of the bolt throwers from my cannon. The mortar was a dead loss. It didn't seem to like do anything. But the hero of the day was the wizard, because I'd rolled Comet of Cassandora. So
the bane of mobile armies.
Right. Well, so I put the comet down. I cast it on my first turn. I put it down in the center of his army, right in front of a bolt thrower, and I was like, yes, that'll definitely get 1. And he was then forced to move his. He had the city garrison crossbow units. He had to move them forward, and so that brought them into range of my handgunners. So it was a really good move. And so then we just started shooting at each other, and lots of people died. But the thing was, this comet just wasn't showing up. Every beginning of each player's turn, I was like, oh no, it's a 2, add another marker. Oh no, it's a 3, add another marker. And it got to the 4th turn of the game. And remember, you roll it at the beginning of each player's turn. So it had 5 markers when it finally, the 6th turn, the 6th time I rolled a 5, and it was like, right, how many markers? 5 markers. So it's D6 times 5 inches. And I was prepared to roll a 1 and like hit bolt throw, and that was it. And I rolled a 6. That was a 30 inch range, which as Sod's Law would have it, hit about 4 of my units, but it hit all of his, and it killed the remaining 3 bolt throwers. And it kind of decimated the 2 units of city garrison he had. So it had gone from a game where he'd been doing so well, he'd been doing really well. Like I was thinking, I'm definitely going to lose this. To suddenly, wow, we're back on even footing. Like he's got no bolt throwers. He's got he's got maybe like 8 guys in each of his units left. And I still had like 5 knights with my warrior priest, and I still had about 10 handgunners left. I was like, I could do this. And so I started advancing with the warrior priest, and then he decided to get some vengeance with his wizard, and he managed to intervene with his wizard and cast a spell on the knights, which made them weapon skill 1. And I was like, that's fine. I'll dispel it. And I kept advancing and kept rolling to dispel this spell on an 8. And I had one go with 2 dice, nothing. Then it was my turn, and I got 3 dice, not good enough. And then another go with 2 dice, and that was the decision time. Was he'd done his final turn. I can charge in with my remaining 2 knights and my warrior priest into his unit of like 5 guys and his commander, and I could charge in and try and like kill them off. And if I do that, I'm pretty sure I'll win. Or I can do nothing and just stand there and hopefully get a draw out of it. And so every instinct in me was like, well, I don't play for a draw, I play to win. So I went in for the charge, rolled, tried to dispel in my magic phase, didn't manage to dispel it, so I had weapon skill 1, didn't hit anything, and then, he did like 1 wound back or something, but it was enough to break me, and then was fleeing away for the final turn. So he got the table quarter, he managed to take the standard as well, and also because that unit was fleeing, it didn't count for points, so I'd lost like 300 points off my total as well. So it went from being like, oh, this will be a draw, maybe, or maybe a minor victory for him, to a massacre. So that was pretty annoying. But I considering that one of the stars had landed on the battlefield and saved the day, I kind of couldn't really expect that much more of the dice to kind of save my bacon. So yeah, I was happy. I was happy at the end of it. And the army had done well. It did, like the city garrison was basically nothing left at the end of the game. So I thought, yeah, you can beat this one. But I don't think I'll go for a 2,000 point army with city garrison. I think I'll ban it if I do 2,000 points or more. Too many bolt throws.
Yeah, it was
fun.
it was a massacre. I remember that game and saw the 2 lines. Like, holy shit, it's gonna be an interesting game. And then when I returned, there's like nothing left on the board. It was it's total mayhem.
That's not a meteor. That's a tactical nuke.
Yeah, basically.
It's beautiful because it just means that the necromancers win once again. Oh, you decimated one another. Let me raise my minions. I also like your classic Empire Knights just withdrawing from the battlefield to drink brandy amongst one another and look down upon the peasants fighting in the middle.
Yeah. Well, in reality, they were sat on their horses just waiting for the next bolt to impale the guy next to them. But it was a kind of like that. Oh, about that time, chaps. Time to advance, eh? Oh, okay. And they trotted off at the end once the huge comet had landed on the board. They're like, oh right, about that time. Get stuck in.
Yeah.
How did it go with you, Niklas?
Yeah, so my last game I played against Wood Elves. I've heard a lot of stuff against Wood Elves. They're hard to play, that they just avoid your army. I think Kislev is a really good army to counter the ways of the Wood Elves, that they use avoid you with skirmish units and you just move around your battle line. But I formed my army if you put your hands together with your palms up and then just close them together, just have a solid middle and then you just move up the flanks and just move in towards the middle with my lancers. Worked really well. The middle part kind of broke apart with the Kossars, but they used and the Ungos just kind of fled away and regrouped and just lured the Dryads and Tree Men and all that stuff in, and then it had several flank and rear charges with the Lancers. These broke the Wood Elves because they get no rank bonuses for being skirmishers, so they lose by a lot if they actually get into combat. And then I had this Lancer unit with Ivan, who charged into the rear of a Wood Elf unit, broke it, and he had already captured a banner, and then he was going to take another one from this unit. But if I did that, then he would get exposed to a flank charge by these Wild Riders. But then I thought, whatever, he's stubborn. He can manage while I get some reinforcements, or he'll just move to the side and start stabbing them. Eventually he'll win the combat. So he did that, and of course he got charged in the side. They kill one, I think, and I didn't kill anyone back. I passed my stubborn check, and at the same time, the other lancers in my unit were stuck into combat with some Tree Men, chased them off the board, so they were going to come back the next turn. They came on, and Ivan and his unit was fighting against this unit. Still, they were losing with combat resolution, like -2 or something. And I was like, oh, doesn't matter. You stubbornate, roll 2 4s, perfect. And then next turn, I had to move in with the unit coming up from outside of the board and move around my Griffin Legion that had regrouped from fighting some Dryads, swing around. So it's like they were in position now to charge. And meanwhile, he had charged with some War Dancers into Ivan's unit as well. So they were really getting a bit anxious. Like, they're going to take some casualties, and they really need to hold this round for the other guys to sweep in and charge them. So they killed some Wild Riders. They didn't kill any War Dancers. The War Dancers killed like 2 guys from the Lancer unit. And of course, I lost by a lot. So I had to roll a stubbornate. I rolled 6 and a 2. Perfect. So the Lancers charged in and just swept away what was left of his army. That it kind of coalesced into the middle to try and break Ivan and his unit, but it didn't manage. And then the reinforcements came and wiped the rest of his army away. So that was a massacre for Kislev.
Wow. That's a good way to end it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just brutal. That's geez, Niklas. I'm getting cold sweats over here. Why? Poor guy. He's like, I'm going to read my friendly Wood Elves.
Yeah, it sounds like he was playing them like how Wood Elves do, using several units to gang up on a unit. And then if he had killed Ivan's unit, they would have all like disappeared away into the trees, and that flanking unit would have just been left there, like going, where did everyone go? So It sounds like it was like that. You managed to hold on with the stubborn, just long enough for it to all to fall apart.
I was really lucky. He's totally in that combat. It was like funny. Those 2 gambles that I made, like first shooting the Chaos Dwarf artillery piece, like, oh, don't worry, I got this, and then it happened. And then Ivan was like, also the super gamble, like, oh, don't worry, he'll hold like 4 leadership tests on stubbornate, he'll do it, and then it happens. So that was like those 2 things were I have those lucky rolls to thank for the end result, pretty much.
Well, a mounted boyar is much more powerful than a boyar on foot in terms of, if a stubborn infantry unit, you're like, okay, they're stubborn, so they can kind of hold that area of the battlefield. But with a mounted stubborn unit, you can go anywhere. So you can it's like a movable tar pit that's really fast moving. Yeah,
I think Kislev was really good against Wood Elves because I could kind of hold back and I could try and strike several units onto his one unit, or just charge whatever unit with the Lancers, because the Lancers would win like any combat against his unit. And also the Ungals were really good. That I also had like some high ballistic scale arrows flying his way. That was a really good game as well.
So then we went to, then we had to total up all the scores, and I'd put like a point system together. You got a question?
I just want to say that, Hugo was with me, a friend of mine. He had done pretty good in his games as well. I think he won. I don't know if he must have lost one of them.
He won 2. He lost 1, and he drew 1.
Yeah. So the last game he was playing next to me against the Slytherin army, and like you could tell that both of these guys were good Warhammer players. So they had like a really tough matchup against each other. And it was really exciting to see how that game was going. That ended up as a draw. And then they were talking like, oh yeah, I have this many points. So I think, either of us is going to come in 3rd or 4th place or something. And I thought that I had some wins, but I didn't think that I would place so high.
So Niklas has given it away now. But I guess it's on Facebook. There was one guy who was undefeated, and he took 1st place, and he was a Wood Elf player, but not the one that Niklas played, obviously. And his final match was against the High Elf player that had beaten Niklas. So basically, after lunch, there was like maybe 5 or 6 players who were doing really well, and so I'd matched them all up together for the 3rd game, and then Niklas lost, and so the final game was the 2 guys which are kind of unbeaten against each other, the High Elves and the Wood Elves. But the High Elves lost so badly, they got massacred in the final game that the High Elf player didn't get into the top 3 because the point system I had put together was, you got 4 points for a massacre, 3 points for a solid victory, and 2 points for a minor victory, and 1 point for a draw. And so when I totaled up those points, because he'd been massacred, because his victories hadn't been as high as some of the others, he didn't get into the top 3. And neither did the 2 players, Hugo and I think it was Jonathan, who was the Lisbon player. They didn't make the top 3 either, for the same reason. They'd hammered each other into a draw, and that only got them 1 point each. So they were just outside. I think they came like 6th and 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
So the winners were the Wood Elf player, and then second was the Dark Elf City Garrison. So when I made that fateful decision to charge rather than try and go for a draw, because he then massacred me, I basically handed him second place, because he would have been maybe like 7th otherwise. But he played the game, so he played it really well. I was happy at the end of that game, and I'm glad I didn't think about the meta game. Oh, this guy's going to win second if I do this, because that would have been an awful move to just like, I'm not gonna charge you because even though there's a chance I could win, I think there's more of a chance you'll get a higher place in the tournament, and I don't want that to happen. That's an awful thing to think. So I just was glad I was focused so much on the game. I was just like, of course I'm going to charge. That's the only way I can win. So so he came second, and then Niklas was third, and then we did the votes for most sporting and best painted, and a certain someone came in with best painted.
Yeah, I did win best painted. I'm just so glad about that. Life goal fulfilled. I was really
awesome.
I was really nervous when I came there, because there were some like really nicely painted armies there as well. I've been thinking the weeks leading up to it, like, oh, maybe I'll actually have a shot finally at like best painted army. Like, I've never win that usually, but I put a lot of work into this army, and it like the models are really nice. And then when I got there, like, holy shit, like these armies are really good looking. Maybe I won't have a chance after all. And then I kind of put up my army, and I kind of put like the Kislev book right next to it to create an atmosphere. And then like I was thinking like, oh no, maybe I put him like on the wrong spot. Like, they got the light coming in from behind them. You can't really see all of them.
Location.
Yeah, like maybe I should put them towards the aisle. Now people have to walk around them. Maybe they'll miss it. So I was super nervous when I put it up. But yeah, I was so glad about winning that prize. It's the best prize in my book.
You've got a beautiful army.
Thanks.
Yeah, there definitely was tough competition on the day. Because a couple of players had basically joined the tournament just to paint armies. So when your whole reason for going is, well, I really want to paint this army, and this is the reason I'm going to do it. There was a lot of time that had been put in, and I got the guy from Rogues Gaming, Mark, to collect the votes for best painted while I was doing most sporting. So I only glanced at the tally he had made. But Niklas was at least 4 votes ahead of the next player. So it just goes to show he did a really good job. And also that people were really impressed just that Kislev was even there, I think.
Yeah, I had this like voice in the back of my mind saying like, people only vote for you from nostalgia. You only have good-looking models. That's it. It's like, but yeah, like
no, you did a great job.
Just having Kislev was like a big bonus. And it was really a lot of fun just getting the army there and just having people like, holy shit, Kislev? Have you ever seen Kislev before? Like, no, not even back in 6th edition.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also, like, you put so much effort into, I mean, it wasn't like, there's the models and I painted them. It was, there's the models and I painted them, and I put in lots of effort to make this feel as Kislev as possible, like with all the Ks on the shields, and the characters were really well done. Because he did conversions for his characters, or at least one of them was a conversion. So it was really well done. And the guy Well, shaky territory. I think the guy who was second had a Chaos Mortals army that was really beautifully painted as well. And he had done lots of kind of freehand on his banners, which looked really beautiful. And his knights and stuff looked really impressive. Like the way he'd managed to do multicolored kind of swirls on the Chaos armor.
Yeah, very psychedelic army. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is straight off the Chaos waste. And it didn't look tacky, because usually when people try and do like a multicolored swirl, it can end up going horribly wrong, and it just looked like a mess. And it looked really, really good. And I think he was second on best painted, basically.
I came up to him like afterwards, like, I kind of feel like I stole your award, because he's a better artist than me. Like he can paint colors better than me, for sure. But like Hugo said, like, it's like better painted, but that the army feels more Warhammer-y, I guess. People voted for that. But it was an amazing army, and I told him it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it was good. It was, and there was a couple of others that were really good as well. They're definitely putting a lot of effort. And then we did most sporting, and this was, I think, the most surprising thing. I was expecting most sporting to be like, oh yeah, you always get a few people who are really nice, so maybe like 2 or 3 people, and maybe there'll be a draw amongst those 2 or 3 people, because they get like 3 or 4 votes each or something. But in the end, there was 6 people with 2 votes each.
Oh.
And I was like, oh man. So I just rolled a dice, and the guy, the ogre player, Wes, who's a really young player. He's maybe about 22 years old, so he didn't even play 6th edition back in the day. He won most sporting, and a well-deserved most sporting at that. So I think it just showed that there were so many people there who were really, really nice, that so many people got votes for most sporting, and it really split the kind of field.
Yeah, I think that's pretty telling about you guys having a really good community down there. I mean, everybody feeling welcoming, and a nice spread of votes, sure, is indicative of people getting along. I've just got 2 questions for you, Joe.
Yeah.
The first one is, did Niklas now, by proxy and extension, give the podcast or the entirety of Sweden a bad reputation as whack winners, like win-at-all-cost players?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've played Niklas a few times, and he's usually quite gracious in how he plays, in terms of if you make a mistake or something, he'll usually like let you, if you forget something, he'll let you go back at least 1 phase maybe. So he's usually quite a gracious player. He's not like someone who goes, you said it was the shooting phase now, even though you haven't shot anything, it's still the shooting phase. You can't, do another magic spell. Maybe he definitely isn't a win-at-all-cost player. But that's not to say he's not competitive, because he definitely is. So, yeah.
Oh, the rest of us know all about that, don't we, just, Jens?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I think there was one downer, actually, and I feel really bad because you've invited me on the show. Niklas had given me a roll of stickers, of the Old World Lives stickers, to hand out. And in the chaos in the morning, when I had that phone call and the guy was like, a car's crashed into my house, I was just running around grabbing stuff, and I totally forgot to bring them. And so I had to...
Well, that is a reasonable excuse for you as well. That
I think so, yeah.
Calls you and says that a car has ran into his house. That's a decent excuse to forget some stuff.
Yeah. I also
just to expound on that, like, as I woke up from arranging a tournament, reviving a dead game in an edition that hasn't been around for 2 decades, I forgot your stickers at home while literally drawing new life into a world since long forgotten. I'm really sorry about the invisible Swedish people.
I know, but I had all these things. I also forgot I printed out the scenarios, because I didn't want people to be flicking through the rule books, and I forgot my scenario printouts as well. So, those are the 2 things I forgot to bring, but gladly it didn't ruin the day. But I have been giving shout outs on the event to The Old World Lives, because it's a really good podcast, and you guys are talking about 6th edition, so I'm always going to be up for hearing about that. But,
Yeah, So it was a great event, and also like the great thing about it is that it's kind of started up other people wanting to throw events, because like after this I've seen like 3 other guys talking about hosting 6th edition events.
Ooh, it's spreading.
It is. One of them is definitely going to take place in York, or as Niklas would say, or as all you would say, Jorvik, of course. To which the Saxon in me says, F a witch. But there we go. So one's going to take place there, and then the guys from the Midlands are going to do a tournament, I think, in Bedford. So there's another one, and then I've just seen on Facebook like an hour ago, someone else from the tournament is thinking of doing one in Surrey, which is just south of London. So yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, I'm super keen on going to all of those, especially the one in south of London, because it's like still London. I don't know. I can take the tube there, but like it's really easy to just get anywhere in London, even to your event, which is like an hour. It was an hour and a half away of just going on the tube on a straight line, which is crazy. That's still considered to be the same city.
Oh yes, Niklas. Tell me about the sweet deliciousness of living in the capital of a country, something you always eschewed and mocked. Isn't it beautiful having collective transportation, being within stone's throw of everything, and just going around? Don't you feel a bit better than everyone else living in England?
The best thing is that
Best
thing is that I can just talk more shit about Stockholm now, because I don't like Stockholm still, but also I live in a bigger city than Stockholm.
Yeah, but we live in Europe. We didn't have to have 2 popular votes to realize that we like being in Europe.
We've been not say anything.
We've been fake neutral through 2 world wars, just selling chocolate and weapons to everyone, and now we're just sitting around being smug. It's working out pretty great for so far.
Yeah.
So,
got a lot to answer for as well.
No, just one final thing, Joe. And again, thanks for coming on. And it's great to hear about where you're reinvigorating the 6th edition community. I'm just wondering, what would be your advice, like a lessons learned from having this event? If someone in Sweden or Denmark or France or Germany or England or the colonies, whatever it's called, would like to host an event, what would be your like number 1 tip?
Yeah, okay. I've got a few. Number 1, I think, is try and find someone who can help you on the day. So it would have been great if I had someone on the day who could have been that player of last resort, and then I could have managed the day myself a lot better because I wouldn't have been playing. So that was kind of the number 1 thing. Like, definitely get someone else to be player of last resort. So if there's an odd number of players because cars crash, then you don't have to try and do all things at once. So that's the number 1 thing. And then other stuff, give yourself plenty of time. I mean, as Niklas said, like, it seemed to be so far away, but it came round really quickly. And giving people time to prepare for a tournament, especially if you're stipulating that everything should be painted, it gives people time to actually get into their hobby and think about, maybe I'll do a new army. I've got 6 months. That's enough time. If I set a schedule, I can get this army painted and it'll all be ready on the day. And then, if it's a new army and things go wrong, they can always play with their other army that they've already painted years ago. So give yourself lots of time to prepare. And I think make sure you have some fun. It's at the end of the day, if you're organising the tournament, it's not going to be really very fun if you're just worried about things all the time. So you can relax a little bit once it gets going, and it obviously is helpful to be able to relax if you have prepared a lot of stuff in advance. So try and be as prepared as possible. Yeah, that's the main stuff.
Those are good advice.
Yeah, just want to thank you for just a great event.
You're welcome.
It's a great tournament. A lot of other people said that, it's like one of the best organized event they've been to, and just all the prizes and everything was really nicely made, and Yeah, it was great.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I bought a load of books for the prizes because I realized that being 6th edition, doing models as prizes, lots of people probably wouldn't want models they already own, and it would be really difficult to kind of get prizes that everyone was kind of wanted. So I did books for prizes, and I think and they got to choose their books that way. So yeah, that was a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any further questions. Again, I mean, thank you from the community and obviously from the podcast as a whole.
I have a final question. Are you now planning the next tournament, or are you going to take a break?
I am. I was going to talk maybe privately with Niklas about something because he has an idea for. Well, Niklas, do you want me to say what your idea was for the next thing we're doing, or?
Yeah. So we're talking about like the logical step would be to escalate to just bigger points, and first. I think I suggested like, let's play 2,000 points, but then Joe said that that's basically just adding a lord, so there's not really a point of just having the same army and a lord. So we're thinking 2,400 points.
That's a nice number, yeah.
And I suggested that it would be cool since Joe had the idea of bringing back 6th edition. So I thought it would be cool if we kind of pushed the name characters a bit. To just have like all the old characters from 6th edition on the table, like there's that guy, and there's that character.
Oh look, there's Balthasar Gelt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so maybe
look, it's Krell of the Black Axe.
So maybe going down that route of kind of doing 2,400 with special characters. So that's one idea we think of. Niklas, you also had an idea of doing a real-time tournament.
Yes, I really want to try doing a real-time event for fantasy, preferably Albion-based. I think, like, I kind of wanted to do it this spring, but I kind of want to wait a bit, maybe let one of the other tournaments come around and just have people a bit more familiar with 6th edition before I try on this, like, crazy campaign concept things.
So I'm more keen on that idea because, well, for a start, it's Albion. So this is the land of Albion, and so that's one thing. But also, when 6th edition came out, the first thing they did was do the Dark Shadows campaign, which is Shadows over Albion, and so it really fits in with the idea of bringing back 6 and reliving and going through those tournaments and campaigns that we did back in 6th edition. So you could bring in lots of elements from the Dark Shadows campaign. So I'm kind of keen on that idea of doing some Albion-based gaming. And I haven't told Niklas this, but I had a crazy idea, which would be to get a hall big enough and the spaces between the tables just right that you could map out the kind of general shape of Albion.
Ooh, that's cool.
So when you're moving around the main map, because it's a real time, so you'll have a figure which represents your army on a main map. You then have to move your physical army, to that correct part of the room where that area of the land is. So you could actually start to play your way across the room, if that makes sense.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and obviously because we'd be doing Ogram stone rings, I'd have to put together maybe 5 or 6 Stonehenge-like scenery, so you'd be able to see where the stone rings were from your board, basically. Like, head in that direction. Okay, great.
Yeah, that sounds epic. All right, yeah, maybe I'll have to push this thing to be sooner. But that's definitely a thing that I want to. So there's just tons of stuff going on in England right now with 6th edition. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with Niklas. I think that maybe let some of the guys do their tournaments that are sprung out of this one, and then we can give ourselves enough time to plan the next epic event.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're gonna head out. Let people think of all these epic things coming in the future. Get them hyped up.
Yeah, maybe getting some ideas to try getting their own event started.
Yeah, there's definitely people out there who want to play.
Yes, that was the main thing that started this event. Just the sheer number of players who were like, "Oh yeah, 6th edition, I'll come and do something with that." And there's so many of them. That was the main thing that was surprising. Yeah.
Well, you did it, and then they came.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
Altdorf Advertising Agency, the AAA is now hiring. Exciting times ahead. We represent everyone. Everything is fine, citizen. Remember, Altdorf Advertising Agency, the AAA. For all your anti-Ratman propaganda needs.
And next time, we will probably have a little rundown of vampire counts.
I mean, people out there who might have heard that we were going to do that this episode, you should go check your ears.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't know where everyone got that foul rumor from. Until I learn how to read. I'm just checking out 4th edition Undead, and at the back you have like a catalog of what you can buy. So why would I need to read? I can just look at pretty pictures all day long.
And with that, see you in the next episode.
The old world lives.
And remember, be square.
Oh, one last thing. Check out the Electro Counts. I think they're a podcast.
Yeah, that griffin has fucking magnificent balls sculpted on it. Balls and dick. Full frontal nudity.